evening. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We call this meeting of the Collingswood Board of Education to order. Adequate notice has been provided. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chu?
Here.
Mr. Craig?
Here.
Ms. Henry?
Here.
Mrs. Maya?
Here.
Mrs. Mikulski?
Here.
Mrs. Savarino?
Here.
Mrs. Seltzer?
Here.
Mr. Sheridan Celia?
Here.
Mr. Stotts?
Here.
Mr. Dilkus?
Here.
And Mrs. Caden?
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First, we had an executive session prior to this meeting. I need a motion to exit executive session.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Before we begin with our presentations, I just wanted to take a minute to say a few words. As a board, we've been working hard these past few weeks to understand the complexities of the situation in our district and to reflect on how we meaningfully move forward and improve. We want everyone here to know that we are committed to finding a way forward that is supportive of and includes every stakeholder group in this district. We will be discussing a lot of these issues throughout this meeting, in addition to quite a few presentations that we have. We will be hearing the good work that our special education department is doing on inclusion from our special education parent advisory group, as well as an audit of our special education services. But first, our first presentation of the night is one that is always one of my favorites, to celebrate some of the joy that goes on at Collingswood High School. We have the pleasure of watching a preview of the high school musical Once Upon a Mattress. Thank you again to all of those students for that incredible preview. And thank you to Ms. Whitman and Mr. Gross and Ms. Goodall and Mr. Hartung and everyone else that is involved in putting on these spectacular musicals. And because Ms. Whitman wasn't speaking into a microphone, for anyone watching on the live stream, you can get tickets at collingswoodtix.com. And the show is, I should know this because my son is in it, March 16th, 17th, and 18th. Thank you. That's what a calendar's for. Okay, so thank you very much. As we said, that is always one of the highlights of our meetings when we get to see students perform in any capacity, so thank you for that. Next up on our list of presentations, we are going to hear from some PTAs, some elementary school PTAs about various elementary playground updates, renovations that they're looking to do. So I believe we are starting with Newbie. Kara, if you're ready.
Hi everybody, my name is Kara Boiler. I am a mom of 4 girls they've all been to Mark Newby or will be eventually, but I currently have one in the high school, one in the middle school, one at Mark Newby, and one at Sharp Elementary. So because my girls have spent a very long time at Newby, I kind of realized over time that there was not a lot of things for the kids to do on the blacktop out on the playground. On the one side of our school, it's literally just asphalt. With a kickball, painted out kickball, basketball court, but that's all there is out there. So we started making plans to slowly carve away at the asphalt surface and start adding things for the students at the school. So I proposed to the Board of Education at one of their committee meetings that we would like to add a painted walking track for our students. So my plan is to paint a walking track around the exterior of the playground. And then currently, we have a rain garden right down in that corner down there. And we would like to expand that on all the corners of the playground aside from this corner, which is used for vehicle traffic. So our proposal was to ask for approval for a painted track, extended playground area, and then also in the small section here, we're probably going to paint a mural, which is not on this graphic tonight, but it is online on the Board of Education website if anybody wants to look at it. And the mural would be an area where we're hoping we could eventually put playground equipment for our students. You need anything else from me? All right, that's it.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Tatum PTA.
Hello. Since 2018, the Tatum Beautification Committee has been utilizing our outdoor resources to serve our Tatum community. In response to more students and not enough space, we have built an outdoor classroom to help give learning space for our teachers and students. At the October 2018 board meeting, it was approved that we could use some of our front lawn space for an outdoor classroom. The outdoor classroom space has been used for the last 4 years and has received so much love through the COVID years. Kids could spread out, get some fresh air, and unmask. Because of the more frequent use, our original plan didn't last as long as we had hoped. So I'm here to present to our proposed update for an outdoor classroom space to the board and to answer any questions. Oh, sorry, you gotta go back one more. Okay, thanks. So this is the current view of our outdoor classroom. As you can see, it has seen better days. Thanks to Keith in the Buildings and Grounds. Where did he go? He was just here. But he's actually cleared all the stumps and the bushes against the building in preparation for the next step of our project. Okay, now you can go. Thank you. All right, this slide shows a proposed view of what we're hoping to accomplish with this project. And what you're looking at is now basically our proposal is to put a patio and a stone bench around the patio area. So the students can sit on the ground, they can spread out on the bench, and just really utilize this space a little bit better. One of the great benefits to this project is the sustainability, because the patio is going to last much longer than our stumps did. Okay, you can go on to the next slide. Okay, so this slide shows pictures of our material that we're hoping to use, and this will match our material that we have in the back in our blacktop space that we completed in 2021. Okay, and this is just a picture of the completed outdoor project that was also driven by the planning and fundraising of the Tatum PTA. So we're not asking for any funds from the district to complete this project. It's completely driven financially by the PTA fundraisers that we've done in the past 2 years. One of the very few benefits of COVID is that we were still able to fundraise, but we didn't have class trips and assemblies and our bigger ticket items that we usually spend our budget on. So that's why we would like to use that for this space. And just our final slide is just a quote that highlights the benefits of outdoor classrooms. In general, I know everybody here understands the huge benefits to student mental health, academic performance of having more of an outdoor space accessible to students throughout the day. So.
Maggie, since, that was a lot louder than I thought it was. Since I know that it's in the front of the school and there was some concern about making sure that the students were safe, I know you guys worked with Mr. Higginbotham to come up with the design. You want to mention that part
Yeah,
too?
so a couple slides back, just that basic. We're going to actually have more of a very natural fence line, and those green circles are going to be our trees or bushes or something that delineates the space, so that children and outsiders know that this space is basically for our students. It's never unsupervised. It's always used with teachers out there with the kids, so they're never unsupervised either. So.
Does anyone have any questions for Maggie? Because we didn't get a chance to speak with her before, but that was very thorough, and thank you very much.
Sure, you're welcome. All right, thank you.
And then last but certainly not least is Sharp PTA.
Hi, while this is getting set up, my name is Doug Newman. I'm the principal of Sharp Elementary. I used to be here at the high school, but now I'm over at Sharp. And, you know, we're doing some things that we're looking to continuously improve what's going on at Sharp. Outdoors, the land that we have there, it's cute, it's quaint, and it's different things that we'd like to do. If you walk by Sharp at this point, you'd see that there's a mural that we have on the outside of the, of the building, on one of our retaining walls. If you were to come inside, you see that the cafeteria was redone. And this has all been from just parents stepping up, the community coming out. I could see that our community was hungry to get involved, to get more involved, and to get busy. If you were to come to Sharp, you would see that. We're working on a lot of different things, from academics to, again, what we're doing on the outside. One of the ideas that we had was to just continuously think about how to redesign the area. If you take a look at our blacktop right now, you'd see it's just, a nice big space as far as it's a blacktop. Can we do something else to make it more engaging was the question, and the answer is yes. So we've had some parents, we've had some teachers step up, take a look at how to redesign, this particular blacktop, and that's what they're going to talk about now. Oh, you didn't think you were going to talk, huh?
No.
One of our teachers, PK teachers, Linda.
I'm Linda Dowling. I'm a pre-K teacher at Sharp, and this is Steve DeChico. He's also a pre-K teacher. We have one of my students' parents, Dawn, and then we all know Tara. She's been helping us because this is all new to us. She's paving the way.
Excuse me, could you speak into the microphone, please?
Sure. Sorry. So our plan for the Sharp playground or revitalization this, you can see where the building is, comes up from the right all the way over. We want to put in, thank you, Steve. The current building. Yes. Calmly, calmly. Yes. So what we're looking to do is install a regulation size elementary basketball court, which is there. Next to it, that green area, which is the oval thing, is actually just being painted green with the soccer post. And then up against the McGill fence, we are looking to make that more of a green area with a sitting wall, pathways. We have a parent that is willing to paint designs on the walkway, educational designs of walking, jumping, and all that. Trees, plants, and all that. Most, if not, actually all of it is coming from grants and donations, so it's not going to cost the school district anything. For phase 1 is the basketball court, and I'm going to pass it over if you want to tell us about that, because John, who is our parent, is actually putting in the basketball court.
Okay, so my daughter goes to Sharp. She's 5, pre-K, loves basketball. Don't know why, don't know how. She's like, Dad, can we go to a Sixers game? I'm like, sure. Well, anyway, so one of the things when I was first approached about this project was, all right, how can I help? What can I do? I do this every day, 50 hours a week as a day job. So I'm like, this can't be that bad. So anyway, the basketball court primarily is going to be a painted surface right on top of the asphalt. Something that'll last, something that the kids can enjoy, not year round, but 3 seasons. It'll be full elementary size, two hoops, adjustable. All the paintings, the markings will be all elementary school regulation. We'll be providing 2 hoops, 2 bench seats, 2 basketballs, and the hoops.
The hoops are
Yes, hoops will be adjustable.
for ages 3 up to 5th grade.
Yeah, and then all the painting is being donated as well, all the labor. Other than that, if anyone has any questions, you can let us know.
Thank you. And once again, if you take a look, these are the types of things the kids are going to enjoy, obviously, during recess, before, after school. But also, I'm really excited about the opportunities for our community to get involved. So can you imagine the 3-on-3 basketball games that I'm going to be having? Can you imagine the soccer games that we're going to be having with families involved? That's the vision. So we're working on it. It's going to happen. You'll see. And you're invited. Thank you.
First, I just wanted to thank all 3 PTAs for, I know that is a tremendous amount of work that goes into putting together the plans for something like this, in addition to putting together the funds and the manpower to make sure that it all happens, and what wonderful spaces that our elementary school students are going to have now because of all of your efforts. So thank you very much for all of that. Moving on, we have our next presentation is a presentation by our Special Education Parent Advisory Group. So Ms. Hegley and Ms. Vesper are going to present. Is this another, we should have stayed where we were?
I mean, it's fine. I have a PDF, so I need the mood lighting and
Okay.
everything.
Yeah, the projector needs to go back.
Sorry.
That's okay. Do you have the PDF or?
No, it's on the, it was posted on the agenda and stuff. going to be worth the wait, guys. It's really exciting stuff. Yeah, whoops.
He just wanted some excitement in his life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was.
You know, special ed does that. We get really
We keep you on your
exciting
toes.
things for you. Yeah, I know.
All right, we're up.
Oh, should I
Thanks,
say
Ed.
the
Yeah,
things now?
yeah, you can
Oh.
do the thing.
I've been waiting all night to say wonderful things about Allie Egley. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Debbie Vesper. I'm a supervisor of special education here in Collingswood. I work primarily at the secondary level. I've worked with the Special Education Parent Advisory Group for the last 14 years. Have never had such an amazing parent run and lead our group. Allie Hegley's going to talk about what we've been doing.
Hi, everybody. The kids performing made me more nervous than I was before. That's a really tough act to follow. So I'm Allie Hegley. I am a Zane North parent, and I'm the parent leader of our CPAG here in Collingswood/Oakland. So what's a CPAG? It's, as many have said, Special Education Parent Advisory Group. So an advisory group means that we're working alongside our partners in the district, Ms. Vesper, Dr. Whitehouse, and others to sort of advance the goals for the special education services in the district. Can you go back, actually? Sorry. So I just wanted to point out a couple things. So this is our vision statement for our group, and a couple words in here that I want to point out. This is an empowering and inclusive partnership between stakeholders that supports students with disabilities. What that means is that if you're in our group, your voice will be heard. We welcome community members, special education parents, educators, anyone that's interested in improving outcomes for all students. All right, we're good. Go down. All right, so just a couple quick facts about our CPAG. We're not that special because all districts are required to have one, so it's not that unique. It's a parent-led group, and like I said, we work in partnership with the district. We're meeting once a month right now. We have a membership of 70+ people, which basically means if I ever find out your email address, you're a member, and I'm going to tell you about everything that our group is doing, so hit me up. And we have regular meeting attendance of 20+, which is honestly great and outstanding, but we're looking to grow that number and our reach. Our goal is to have representation from every school in the district. We want our group to represent the diversity of our community, all ages and levels. And our focus is working out systemic issues related to special education, and I just say that to mean that it's not a advocacy group in the way of like individual advocacy for specific students' issues. We're looking at listening to the experiences of our community members and distilling that into some kind of action that we can take to better special education outcomes. So I've been doing this for about a year, and the things that we're working on sort of fall into these 3 buckets. So the main thing we've been focusing on for the past year is around school culture. So we're looking to affect positive change in our school culture through reaching our student and staff populations through some annual recognition weeks. So the first one we did in December was Inclusive Schools Week, and then coming up later this month we have Neurodiversity Week, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about what those are. So school culture is the first one. The second one is collaborating with the school district on steps towards making our schools more inclusive. The district has shown that they're on board to come up with a game plan to work on inclusion in our district. So we as parent advisors are part of that conversation. So if you're interested in your voice being heard on that topic, you can join our group. And then the other thing we want to do as a group is share resources about disabilities and inclusion within our community. Again, that's just to affect culture in our community and spread awareness about different disabilities. Okay, next. All right, so Inclusive Schools Week. This was December 2nd through 5th, and we had all Collingswood and Oakland schools participate in this. CPAG prepared basically a resource document with things like read-alouds, videos, lesson plans, teacher resources, et cetera, on the topics related to disability and inclusion. And so the educators all had that to work from, and they shared these stories and videos with the students, and the students had opportunities to ask questions about these topics. We've heard from a lot of students that this was the first time that they had an opportunity to just bluntly ask a question such as, is autism good or bad? So that's the kind of thing that we're looking for. We're looking for opportunities to create more awareness and dialogue about disabilities and differences amongst our students and staff. So the week culminated in a variety of school-wide activities celebrating what it means to be part of an inclusive school. We had a lot of positive feedback from staff and students saying it was like a great day. The schools came together in their own way to talk about, you know, how they're all part of the same community. And we have one cute slide with all the cute pics of the various schools and the way that they celebrated. We made banners for all the schools. A lot of them had all the students sign them. I know my kid's school had class pledges written up for each school about what it means to be inclusive, so it was really nice to see the school communities coming together around this topic. So coming up next, later in March, we are going to be sharing materials for Neurodiversity Week. So these are the goals that we've outlined for what we want to accomplish with Neurodiversity Week. We want to increase awareness of brain differences in our schools and community, share information about neurotypes such as autism, ADHD, and dyslexia in a strengths-based, inclusive way, understand how we can all support and accommodate students with brain differences in our community, and celebrate being part of a world that values all kinds of different minds. So basically what this is our update on like an autism awareness day or et cetera. My son's autistic and he's been in school at Zane North since in preschool since he was 3, and now he's in 3rd grade. And they were like acknowledging autism awareness, but not in a way that I felt was what I wanted to see, so I decided to change it. So that's what started all of this. We also realized that autism awareness and things like that weren't necessarily being represented or talked about consistently across the district, school to school, so we're looking to make that more consistent for all of our schools. I would say that schools that don't have a high disabled population, it may be even more important to have this content because they can then learn about differences that are in their community if they don't have a classmate that is affected by a disability. So our next kind of bucket coming out of the celebration weeks is working with the district to take meaningful steps towards inclusion. So some ways that we're doing that is we have CPAG members on the Superintendent Parent Advisory Council. I find that if you show up and say the same thing over and over again, sometimes some traction is made, so that's what we're aiming to do. We're going to stay on top of the topic of inclusion. We were able to provide input about budget priorities for next year during this budget process, and we were able to advocate for increases in compensation for our support staff, our instructional assistants that work directly with our disabled students. And we are also working with the district and exploring opportunities with organizations such as NJCIE, which is New Jersey Center for Inclusive Education, and seeing how Collingswood can get on board with some of the work that those organizations are doing. And then the third thing that we're working on is just kind of more community reach and getting our message out there to the larger Collingswood community. So we we just established an Instagram and a Facebook account so that we can share out the resources that we're working on and just other resources that are out there that are helpful related to these topics. CPAG is kind of taking it on to help educate our community about the topics that we're working on. We want our group, like I said, to be accessible and inclusive, so it represents our larger community. And then there's just the information on how to get in touch with us, so you can follow on Instagram or Facebook. We have an email that you can email if you're interested in more information or want to learn about when our next meeting is. It's calls.cpag@gmail.com, and you will be added to the contact list. That's a threat. And our next meeting is going to be Wednesday, March 15th, and if you're interested, you're going to get to see a sneak peek work in progress of what we're planning for Neurodiversity Week during that meeting. But stay tuned and see what, follow along for what happens during Neurodiversity Week and for the rest of the year. And that's really it. I just want to say that I have a wonderful relationship with Beth and Debbie and others that work for the schools, and I think that makes all the difference. We are working as parents to build relationships with the people who are, driving the bus for what's going on with our kids. So I would encourage others to get involved and share this information with the rest of the community if you can, so that we can include everyone and everyone has an equal opportunity to their education. And that's it. Thanks for your help. Sorry about the calling around.
I think so, yeah. I think we can turn the projector off. There we go. Thank you for that presentation. It is really exciting work to see what CPAG has been able to accomplish in just a year, and I'm excited to continue working with them to get even more done. Moving along, the next presentation so Mr. Gersick is not here this evening, so we're going to skip that report and move to our final one of the evening, the CST audit review by Dr. Brian Lottis Consulting Firm.
Good evening. I'm glad I didn't try to run to the bathroom, then you threw a curveball skipping the meeting before us. And I was hoping to have a buffer between all those great presentations and the audit report, but here we are. But all kidding aside, I'm Dr. Brian Latwis. This is my partner, Dan Gunderson. We wanted to thank you guys, the Collingswood Board of Ed, BA Mrs. Coleman, Superintendent Dr. McDowell, for bringing us in and partnering with you guys. A really special thank you to Dr. Whitehouse and Mrs. Vesper. I saw them both in the audience before, but them, the entire CST and the classroom teachers for allowing us into their classrooms open arms and for really partnering with us throughout this process. A lot of times it's been our experience when you do these types of audits, there's always that sense of keeping your guard up because you're not really sure what people are looking for and where that's going to go. They were fantastic to work with through the entire process, so we really appreciate everybody. So kind of jumping right into this, as you guys know, you went out in September 2022 with an RFP to review your special ed programming, and as a result, that brought us to tonight. So summary of the audit, looking through the different components of the audit report that you guys have in front of you. The first component of the audit report is reviewing all 365 IEPs that you guys have in the district. We are very happy to announce that all the IEPs were compliant. They were everything in line with code, what you would expect, timelines, and the various components. So that's really a testament to the CST and the supervisors for making sure those documents are where they need to be. With that being said, there was a few areas that we identified that could be targeted for some professional development, things like that, just to make them a little bit more robust. But I can't emphasize enough that the documents were all compliant, and they were really strong as we went through it. So that was very positive. We moved into the classroom and program observations. We got to see all different programs from pre-K all the way up to 12. We got to see all the different, from inclusion to resource to self-contained programming. We spent 20 to 30 minutes in each of the programs. They really were fantastic. You have an amazing group of staff here that work really, really hard. That's evident when you go in there. You can't fake that type of authentic relationship that staff can have with those students, and we were fortunate enough to get to see across the board really a lot of very dedicated teachers that really built out those types of authentic relationships. So that was a tremendous positive. One of the areas that we identified, kind of going with the theme, piggybacking off of CPAG and really what the district's priority is, we really looked at that inclusion model that you guys have here. That is definitely an area that I would target or that I would recommend targeting for growth. You know, the programs kind of varied from building to building. Some of the buildings had true inclusion where you have the special ed certified staff member with the gen ed certified staff member, and some of the programs were partnering a gen ed staff member with a paraprofessional to really kind of continue to push that least restrictive environment to get more students into those inclusion classrooms. That would be a recommendation to continue to try to target that and build out those programming. But again, with that being said, you do have a really talented and very dedicated group of individuals here working there. So the program observations were very strong. Finally, we did the staff interviews. At each of the observations, we had voluntary staff interviews at the end, and really those interviews basically echoed what we saw in the programs. You have a lot of teachers that are really passionate about what they do. One of the resounding areas there was the continued professional development and continued opportunities for them to grow within their profession. But you know, really, again, you had a very positive group of individuals that are very proud of what they do. The final section of the audit report that you'll see there is the resource section. Within that resource section, we provided standard operating procedures for a couple different areas, transportation, paraprofessionals, and something that the CST can follow through there to guide their decision making. We provided relevant references to code, an IEP audit form that the supervisors can use with the child study team as they go through, and then some guidance documents for various components of the IEP. Is there any questions? I know I threw kind of a lot at you guys in a very short period of time. So I know you guys have the reports. Is there any questions based off of that?
You mentioned that the inclusion section about putting kids in the least restrictive environment is someplace that we should focus more on. Do you have any, I guess, observations about what additional changes or supports or resources would be needed by the district in order to push more of the inclusion model?
Sure. So I really, at the bottom line, would really just be the personnel aspect of it. The classrooms, when we went into the classrooms, you know, the teachers that was there, whether it was the gen ed teachers or it was the resource or self-contained, one of the things that was really highlighted in those different programs is the amount of resources that they had within the program to make it. There's a theme of getting the classroom ready for the child and not the child ready for the classroom. And those classrooms were filled with various like seating arrangements, things like that, flexible seating, things like that for those students. Really, the missing component would really be the personnel aspect of having the 2 certified staff members. When you have just the gen ed certified staff member, a lot then tends to fall on the gen ed staff member, so they're really doing the job of 2 people at that point. So those areas of building out, where we were able to see the special ed teacher partnering with the gen ed teacher, it really was a different feeling when you went in there because you could see that true partnership and you could see the roles and responsibilities of each and how they come together to form kind of that complete educational model. Some of those other classrooms where you had the classroom teacher and the para was absolutely earning their salary, working with the gen ed teacher running around and really supporting and helping. But really to take that next step forward, it's a clear difference when you see the classroom with the 2 certified staff members versus the 1-on-1. So really personnel would be the major thing.
Did your audit include talking to any parents of students with disabilities?
Not parents, no. It was staff members, teachers, CST members, and then administration.
Did anyone else have any questions for? So to kind of summarize your summary, it doesn't sound like you found any glaring red flags that we should be aware of, which we didn't suspect you would find, but it's always nice to know.
No, absolutely.
Just more
not.
recommendations for how to improve upon our program.
Correct. Yep. There were some resources, things like that. The CST can use, teachers can use, some recommendations for professional development, just some areas that to continue to support the staff in their growth. But really, there was no glaring findings or anything like that. Everything was it was a very well-run program.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we should just recognize once again that the credit, excuse me, the credit for that goes to our CST team and the massive amounts of work that they put into making sure that those programs are running the way they should be, and then the teachers and paraprofessionals who are taking care of those students every day. So thank you for all of that. Okay, well, we made it through our long list of presentations, and we're going to move on to section 4, Committee of the Whole. I need a motion to enter Committee of the Whole.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This is the portion of our meeting where we wanted to discuss some of the really next steps and talk more in detail about everything that has happened post the student walkouts and the community forum. We kind of have a plan for, as a board, what we would like to discuss, but we wanted to give Dr. McDowell the opportunity to start things off with a couple of words, and then I will chime in.
Okay, thank you, Reagan. So first, good evening to everyone who is here. I want to begin by stating plainly that our school community is experiencing a very challenging moment. It's a moment that I hope we'll look back on as at the beginning of a process of healing and transformation that leads to Collingswood High School becoming the kind of school that I think that everyone here tonight believes that our students deserve, and more importantly, the kind of school that everyone knows is possible. I'm extremely grateful that our students brought forward these concerns. A phrase that we have heard over the last several weeks is that Collingswood likes to sweep problems underneath the rug. Well, the rug has been abruptly pulled away. And I can promise everyone tonight that dust and debris that was exposed will not be swept away. We, as a school community, are committed to action. While the community forum provided a necessary and important space for students to speak candidly to people in positions of power, it was unfair and inappropriate for specific allegations against faculty and staff to be made. Our educators deserve better. I regret that the moderator made a choice not to uphold the norms that were initially laid out in the planning phase of said meeting. And as superintendent, I take responsibility for the lines that were crossed during that evening. There is a formal process to report incidents of discrimination or harassment. Moving forward, that is the appropriate space to bring up and bring forward accusations and allegations of unfair treatment. Not in a public forum where faculty and staff are not given the opportunity to respond. At the community forum, I also shared that the real work of healing doesn't happen overnight, but in the countless interactions that students have with faculty and staff, which is the most important relationship that's happening in our schools, that between students and teachers. Trust must be restored between students and staff at our high school. And I understand that in order for this to happen, there must also be trust among our district. We intend to earn that trust by backing up the words this evening with direct action. To our students, that means that we will be updating policies and practices as they relate to diversity, equity, and inclusion, social emotional learning, de-escalation and conflict resolution, and restorative approaches to education. To our faculty and staff, that means that you will always be given due process and your concerns will always be heard even when there's disagreement. We would like to acknowledge that systemic change takes time. These circumstances are symptoms of a much larger issue. And so while changes are being made, we also ask that we not let the many amazing things, much of which that we heard this evening about our school district, get lost in the shuffle, even though there is real frustration among members within our school community, and that is valid. We have so much to be proud of, but we still have a lot of work to do, but we're committed to doing the work.
Thank you, Dr. McDowell. I think I'm pretty confident I can speak for the full board when I say we wholeheartedly agree with what you said, and that all of those things are incredibly important as a board to kind of support what you just said. As I said at the beginning of the meeting, we've been spending a lot of time over these last couple of weeks trying to think through what we do next as a district, and we've been wrestling with what this looks like with our role as a board. In reality, the board has three major responsibilities: district policies, budget, and the evaluation of the superintendent. So we will be making anti-racism and anti-bias approaches central to all three of these areas immediately and from now on. So to start, we are taking the step that Dr. McDowell mentioned. of looking at our policies through an anti-racist, anti-bias lens. We found, if you could pass these down to the board members and go this way. So in a lot of the different discussions that we've had people kind of coming from all over the state really, and also the county, to offer us their support in doing this work. And someone who is a former board member in Cherry Hill and also works for the county had pointed us towards some policies that Cherry Hill had enacted while she was a board member there, and one of them is the policy that I just passed out to all of you. It is a specific policy that we do not have on the books yet about anti-racism. And when I was kind of looking over where we should start, or actually when our entire policy committee was looking over where we should start, we recognized that other marginalized students, be it LGBTQ plus students with IEPs, and English language learners, all have specific policies that explicitly relate to their well-being in our schools, and we don't have one that exists for students of color. So I believe that this is a really important first step, and that we can really model our own anti-racism policy out of the one that Cherry Hill used, because it's very explicit about, it's a policy that also can serve as a mission or a vision statement for what we would like our district to look like. And it covers all areas from training to curriculum to culture and climate to everything. And then it also made some suggestions of other, Cherry Hill, the Cherry Hill board member made some suggestions about other policies we could look into, as well as the policy committee spent some time over the past couple of weeks looking through our specific policies and trying to highlight some that we wanted to focus on first. So I wanted to, Ms. Savarino, when we get to her section, may reiterate some of this, but I wanted to take some time to talk about those. So we have the anti-racism policy that we will be working on as a policy committee to draft and adopt for March. But then some other ones we wanted to look into are ones that have either not been refreshed for many years, or we know are heavy lifts but important ones, such as the student discipline code of conduct policy, pupil grievance, pupil rights, employee training, which pertains to support staff and how we can encourage and offer trainings on anti-bias and from an anti-bias, anti-racist lens. Resource materials, and then some policies that have been updated fairly recently, but we're not so clear on how that's looking in practice, and so just kind of checking in about that from our affirmative action for school and classroom practices, equal educational opportunity, affirmative action program, as well as our guidance policy. Those were all updated within the last few years, so we would just like to get a better sense of what that's looking like in real time in our schools. So I just threw a bunch of policies at you. Some of you that are on the policy committee have already seen those. Some of you have not, so I'm not going to ask you to have specific policy numbers or names in your heads to suggest, but what I was hoping that we could do as a group was to talk through what other areas of focus we would like to look at through this anti-bias, anti-racist lens, because we've tasked our policy committee with doing a comprehensive review of our policies from this point of view. So what other topics do we want to be sure that we add to our list?
I just wanted to clarify, I don't think that I would be talking about these policies at my policy time, because they're not policies that are be for the first read or second read, so I wouldn't be talking about them then.
Thank you for clarifying. So we'll just talk about it right now instead. So is there any other, yeah, please.
This is great, right? It's a piece of paper, it's a policy that we are going to enact. We want to make sure that we follow through on these policies, right? And I just came from Cherry Hill. There's so many resources out there that are available to us. Are we having any plans to take advantage of some of those resources? Like, do we know if Cherry Hill's actually made progress just because they implemented this paper? Does that make sense?
That's a great question, and we have two Cherry Hill teachers here, and we're not going to ask you to speak on whether you think that's been successful yet or not, because, we're not going to put you in that position. But Chris, you make a very good point. I know Kate had shared with the policy committee, I can't remember what the organization was.
Yeah, it's an educational advocacy group. EDRA is the name of the group.
that had a specific list of policy recommendations.
Yeah.
That we can look into. And then, you're right, what we additionally need help with, and I know we've been talking with Dr. McDowell a lot about this, is how do we get the support that is needed to make sure that these policies are being implemented. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so that was what you had shared? This is very loud.
Otherwise, it's just performative. And that's not what we wanted to accomplish here, correct?
No, I think we've all been very clear about that amongst ourselves and are trying to be very clear about that to the community now, that the absolute last thing we are looking to do is make this performative. Hope everyone calms down and move on with our lives. That's not what we're looking to do, because that is not a productive, that doesn't work. And no one has any interest in doing anything that isn't going to actually result in substantive change. So actually that kind of leads somewhat nicely into my next topic, which is what we as a board would like to ask of Dr. McDowell, because as I said, we have these three major responsibilities. And one of those is the evaluation of the superintendent, holding the superintendent accountable for doing the work of the district. So members of the board have been in constant communication with Dr. McDowell. He's committed to this work, and as a board, it is our responsibility to support him and hold him accountable. So at the board's request, Dr. McDowell will provide the following information at the March board meeting, and he's already aware of this, but we're going to read it anyway. First, an analysis of all the incidents that have been reported, followed by the findings in the investigations. This will be presented to the board during executive session, since it will involve sensitive information about students and staff. Next, a plan with specific ideas for how to increase the number of teachers of color, provide DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion training to staff, audit our existing curricula to ensure cultural responsiveness, and address inequitable disciplinary practices. Also, a plan to repair relationships between faculty and students. So that is a fairly big lift. We do not have any expectation that all of those things will happen by our March meeting, because this is not work that happens quickly. I think we all would be making a very big mistake if we thought in the next couple of months all of this will be solved, because that's not the way it works. What we have to commit to is continuing to come back to the table and continuing to do the work over and over and over again, recognizing that we're not always going to get it right, but if we can be humble enough to admit that and keep going, that's where progress will be made. So we are asking for a report out of the progress being made on all of those areas, not that all of those things, not expectation that all of those things would be accomplished by March. And then finally, Dr. McDowell will increase his presence in the high schools, supporting building leadership and addressing culture and climate, and will report out his observations to us as those come. So I did want to, we talked about this a little bit earlier, so it may not be quite the opportunity for discussion that I was hoping. I was kind of hoping I wouldn't be the only one speaking during Committee of the Whole. But these are kind of our three major asks of Dr. McDowell when it comes to this work over the next couple of months. But I did want to either give Dr. McDowell the opportunity to respond or give us more information on his thoughts on that, or any other board members if they would want to add in anything. Because it doesn't work if we're not creating manageable, meaningful goals together. We need to be sure that we're doing that.
I'll just weigh in really quickly. I think that everything that has been proposed and discussed over the last several weeks is reasonable and manageable, and puts us on a pathway to begin moving in a much better direction. So I'm all in favor.
I think when you were talking about list of items that we could be including and ensuring that we are looking through with an anti-racist lens, the budget is the other big responsibility of the board. And how do we apply that lens when we're looking at what investments that we're making in staff development, when we are making in culture and climate, and other areas to ensure that we're living up to this. So I think that is going to be what, in the very short term, some of the discussions that we're going to have, but then also moving forward in the long term, what does the investment look like in this?
Yeah, and I actually think that's, I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and I think that word investment is key to all of this. I believe that this board is willing to make that investment, but we as a community need to be willing to make that investment, because it's more than just, as Chris said, a nice policy that outlines all of the things that we would like to see in our district. It's the investment in the things that are needed to actually make that implementation happen. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Okay. And I think it's also who are we willing to invest in, and if somebody maybe doesn't have the certification for a job currently, can we find a caveat so that we can keep them in a position if they're well-liked and making connections with kids and I don't know if I'm making sense because my brain's not working at this particular moment, but you know what I
think you mean that we're supporting our teachers and our staff in ways, giving them whatever it is that they need to keep them in the classroom, working with students and building those relationships with students?
Right, rather than letting someone go who, right, yeah, and then having to try to find somebody else, right?
Yeah.
Being more creative.
What else is just, oh, I'm sorry, okay, go ahead.
As another teacher in the Cherry Hill district, I will say that this is something that Cherry Hill has invested in for many years. As a faculty member, I have been a part of a lot of very engaging and eye-opening professional development opportunities in this kind of work, anti-racism and very meaningful discussions that have had a very positive impact on the faculty and staff relationships. I would say that any of those investments, as we're talking about, and any of those discussions also have to be in a partnership with the staff. The realities of what goes into running a building and building relationships with students and making sure that their emotional and also academic needs are met is complex. And I think that faculty and administrators need to be at the table when we are developing a plan that is going to, really work and make these programs successful.
I think you're absolutely right. I think we have a good model. Like, we've done some of this work in the not that distant past. The Equity Committee was making a lot of progress pre-pandemic. I mean, there was a lot of statements, there was a lot of agreements, and I understand there's a lot of buy-in, both staff, community-wide. And I think it would be worth us looking back to what some of those things were that we found back then. Understanding that we have to apply today's lens on it, but I think that you're right. How can we bring everybody to the table? Because I know that there's real investment from everybody to want to solve and make this district better.
Right, and if it's seen as any sort of a piling on, then the buy-in from everyone that we need to buy into it wouldn't be there, and therefore it wouldn't be successful. So it's absolutely important that it's done in partnership, for sure. And I do know that, as Matt said, with the Equity Committee, worked with a lot of teachers who are absolutely on board and very willing to, and already thinking about this work. So I would be very surprised. I mean, we've talked with the union already that they wouldn't be ready to go when it comes to this kind of work anyway. Did we want to, I'm just looking at the time and everything, is there anything else that we wanted to discuss when it comes to kind of, I guess, expectations for what we would like to see from, see happen in the district and have the superintendent report back to us for our next meeting?
I know with the equity committee work, the first year of everything we did was really pretty much identifying the issues and defining what we were talking about. And those conversations is what kind of built understanding amongst the various stakeholders. So I would like to see what kind of plan is there in place for that, to start those kind of discussions and partnership building opportunities, because I think that's where you have to start.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to that this is work that we will need to keep doing over and over again, that we can't just say, well, you know, we had those discussions a couple of years ago, so everybody's definitely on the same page and we'll be ready to go, right? Like, we need to continue bringing everybody in and talking about what we mean by anti-bias and anti-racist, and redefining what all of those things mean over and over again, so that we really are kind of norming it for everybody, right? So that we're all coming to it from the right place. So yeah, I would agree with that, Fiona.
But I do think there are some of the policies that we can, like, you know, like, we can revisit rather quickly in terms of, like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And those are just, you know, like, dignity, respect, like those,
Right.
you know, those are fairly easy, you know. I think everybody can agree on those.
Right. Okay.
In the additional data that I think we've been asking for a while, in terms of disciplinary and class enrollment data disaggregated by race and different student aspects, I think that will help us understand potentially how to modify policies, right? If we understand what some of the issues are through looking at, like, how, say, discipline is being meted out, I guess, at the, by different groups.
And just to add to that, I think also disaggregating, you mentioned this, Roger, like different programs and classes, disaggregating also by student demographics, looking at AP courses, looking at the gifted and talented program, looking at some of our programs to see where there might also be a sort of systemic lack of diversity in those spaces. You know, most students, I think, want to be academically engaged. So really thinking about those spaces also as room for looking at disaggregated data.
Okay, I think that I'm glad that we had this discussion. I think that it's, you know, it's only the beginning of many discussions that we're going to have on this topic and what we do, and trying to figure out how that, you know, that implementation piece and how we support everyone in our district that's involved in this work is the big lift and the key to all of it. So just to kind of wrap things up, the last thing I wanted to mention was for the board itself, one of the things that we've been thinking about when it comes to equity and inclusion is access to us. And at the moment, that isn't so easy. Oftentimes, someone either has to personally know one of us, you know, slide into our DMs on Instagram or Facebook Messenger, try to find us that way, or, you know, stop us at pickup, and that shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be that difficult. So to that end, we want to create a clear line of communication that everyone is aware of, and design a protocol to manage messages sent to us appropriately in our role as a board. For example, it's not appropriate for us to troubleshoot or get involved in a personal student or family issue or classroom complaint. That's the job of first the classroom teacher, then the principal, and finally the superintendent. However, there are big picture things that we do want to hear from the community about. For instance, if you think that there are things that aren't on our radar that you would like to be on our radar, that would be a great reason to reach out. Or if you have suggestions about how to move forward with a particular initiative or policy proposal, if you happen to be an expert on anti-racist work, for instance, and you have some suggestions for us, that would be a great reason to reach out to us, and you shouldn't have to know one of us already in order to be able to do that. So we've asked that by the end of the week, either whether it be a board email or a form on the website be created and posted under the Board of Education section of our website, so that we will be more accessible where appropriate. Like we said, we aren't going to be able to mediate any personal issues, but we would like there to be a forum to give us information that you think that we should have. So with that, unless there is anything else, we're going to close out Committee of the Whole. All right, so can I have a motion to exit Committee of the Whole?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now I've lost my, there we go. Okay, so we are at Section 5, Future Dates and Miscellaneous Information. You can see a list there of various activities that are going on over the coming month. Two things that are missing, however, are our 2 board meetings in March. We have a special board meeting on March 13th that, to essentially send the budget to the state, as we are required to do. And then I meant to look up the date of our, is it March 24th? Give me 1 second. 27th, thank you. March 27th at 6:30 will be our next board meeting, and I believe we will be back in the Zane North All-Purpose Room at that time. Next, we are at Section 6, Routine Board Business. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the January 21st, 2023 Board Retreat Agenda and the regular board meeting of January 23rd, 2023. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Now we are at Section 7, which is our first opportunity for public comment. The purpose for this public comment section is to discuss items listed on the agenda. Additional, more general comments may be made later in the meeting. The public is reminded that attempts to resolve all concerns and complaints should first go through appropriate staff members and administrators. The intent of public comment is to give the community the opportunity to provide feedback to the board. We will be actively listening and taking notes so that we can take all that is being said into consideration. If appropriate, clarifying comments may be made at the end of the public comment section. For more detailed responses to concerns, communication may go out later in the week by an appropriate staff member or administrator, or be discussed by the board during future committee meetings. Members of the public are welcome to speak and expected to do so with the utmost sensitivity to everyone in attendance. We do want to just kind of give one extra caveat. Prior to making individual comments at a public meeting specific to any individuals, we advise you to seek legal counsel first to see whether those statements could be considered defamatory. In fairness to all who wish to speak, there is a strict 5-minute time limit per person during public comment. Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Rick Pence, I'm the president of the Collingswood Education Association. First, thank you for some of your comments that you did make tonight. I will be reading a statement that was prepared previously in advance. Sorry about this, mic was a little low. Just ask me to yell and I'll be able to yell on that. Yep, try this one then. Tonight I speak on behalf of my fellow union members who work in just about all job categories across this district. We are your children's teachers, secretaries, instructional assistants, counselors on that. Just like all of you here tonight, we are experiencing pain and uncertainty of finding a way forward. Amidst the pain and uncertainty, the members of the CEA stand united in our resolve to ensure that every student feels safe and welcomed in school. As a union, we are committed to working together to repair damage that has been done and ultimately to building an inclusive, respectful environment for who walks through our school doors. Over the past few weeks, one of our community members spoke out and said to us that we, and I quote, signed up for this. I agree with him. We did. We are 100% committed to our students each and every day. I think my colleagues here tonight will agree with me when I say that we do much more than just show up for work. We continually assess our students' needs and make informed research-based decisions on our students. Now that the pandemic is behind us, I hope we're always thinking about our students and what is best for them. Not a single one of our union members want to work in a place where anyone, whether they be student, staff, or parents, feel undervalued or mistreated. In the last few weeks, our members have had tough conversations with their classes, and these conversations can only happen when everyone is valued. As a union, we are committed to this. We have spent countless hours in our classrooms, at sport venues supporting our student athletes, and engaging in community activities as we strive to support our students in and outside of the classroom. We believe that the best education is a well-rounded education. We pride ourselves in giving our all to these children. In no way do we think things are perfect here. In fact, ingraining in all educators the growth mindset thinking of yet. We always know we can do better and be better. As educators, we know that we are not perfect either. And in our imperfection, we remain committed to what's right and best for our students. We have been taking careful stock of what is happening. We see this as an opportunity to learn and grow with all of you as we carefully reflect upon our classroom practices and ourselves. So, what we ask for of our students, we demand the same as ourselves. The leadership of the union will soon be offering space for our members to hold honest conversations and trainings with the help of experts in facilitating anti-racist training. We value different perspectives, viewpoints, and know that we must be open and honest in order to grow. Our teachers know that they can be agents of change, but real change does not happen if we ignore opportunities for growth. We know that the work ahead will be hard and challenge us. But again, this is what we signed up for, and we accept the challenge, and we challenge you to do the same with us. Thank you tonight.
Good evening. My name is Mark Dowdy Henderson. I am a parent. My daughter is a 9th grader in the high school. My husband and I have 2 sons who have graduated, went through the Collingswood school, graduated from the high school. Ms. Caden, you made the statement that Dr. McDowell is going to work on all of the things that happened that we talked about at the last meeting and provide you guys with his final results. So my question is, because my daughter, for those of you on the board who don't know, was sexually assaulted almost 4 months ago, and I'm still waiting for these results that I still have yet to get, and I've been told on numerous occasions that, yeah, we're working on the findings, So my question is, when are those findings coming to my husband and I and our daughter? It's very disappointing. I'm still waiting on a letter. It's very disappointing. And personally, I want to say, Dr. Coleman, I thank you, because when I first came to you, you literally walked me through everything and helped me out, and I appreciate that. So the last thing I have is, tomorrow is the last day of February, Black History Month. Not one person on this board mentioned Black History Month. Not one. And I think that's really unfair. So my question is, when can I expect these findings?
How you doing? I am Dr. Campbell, and you spoke earlier about different resources that you all are looking for in regards to equity training. And so I am actually the author of this book, Promoting Positive Racial Teacher-Student Classroom Relationships. I also have a workbook, which means I do workshops. And I just think it's important for you to know that it's available. I can give the superintendent one of my business cards, if that's okay.
Good evening, folks. My name is Gary Frazier. I'm a social community activist out of the city of Camden. My sister attends, My name is Gary Frazier. I'm a social community activist out of the city of Camden, New Jersey. My sister attends the high school here at Collingswood. You know, it's very, very hard to come and stand before you tonight and see, you know, the things that have happened tonight. You know, the great things you guys have spoke about that you're doing in the district. But when I look around, you know, your population, the students here in this school, 55% white, 13.3 13.3% Afro-American? About, what, 29%, 33% Hispanic? You're telling me we're doing nothing around cultural for these children? I think the issue here is that we may be asking you to do something that you're not capable of doing. To ask you to simply come up with, to put it on a superintendent, and Ms. Reagan, can I address you? Because you have more than a responsibility than to just to hold the superintendent accountable, to just look at policies and things of that nature. I'm sorry, you're a board member, you're a stakeholder, an elected person, elected by these people here to be in this position. This is not a progressive, is Collingswood not a progressive city? Yes, it is. Very. And so, you know, just come up here in front of you to the superintendent. So first I want to thank you, Superintendent, for at least, you know, taking the proactive approach. But this is not going to solely be put on the superintendent. All of you have a job, a responsibility, a commitment to these students and to the school, quite frankly. You are elected by the people to do a job in these positions. You're not just sitting here going over policy and things of that nature. Something arising in the school that's around students, around racism, all of you should be more and reluctant than to get involved in it and play a role in fixing the issue. And again, I get back to saying that I think we're asking you to do something you're not capable of doing. You know, that's what I see, because you look at the makeup of your board. Don't look like them other than him. Don't look like the Hispanics I see in here. Don't look like none of them. So what I did was to bring the awareness here. Because this has been going on, not just in the high schools, not in the middle school, this is going on in your town, period. And so I took a holistic approach with this thing, right? Because everybody thought we were coming here, we were disruptive and stuff like that. But I know you guys watched those students who were out there, how they conducted themselves, and when they found their voices. This is the reason why you're at this table right now, taking holistic approaches to remedy the situation. And again, we understand this is not something that's going to happen overnight, but something's going to happen before their school is out this year. It has to. I've spoken to my district. I come from Camden, okay? These students, some of their things that they were asking for was a wellness center. We have what we call a solution center in Camden. Well, we deal with all types of these issues right here. You guys brought in a policy from Cherry Hill. Have you checked what's going on in Cherry Hill in terms of racism? Have you? You haven't, because that policy wouldn't be sitting on your desk right now. See, the children that are coming into your school, coming from out of our city, moving into your city, now in your school. These are babies. And just because they left the flock of our city doesn't mean it changes for them to get a high-quality education. It is your responsibility as board members to help provide that, not just our superintendent. I asked our superintendent to consider. I first went to my district first, because I thought it was important that you guys began to get the wraparound services that you need. CEA, I want to thank you because I worked side by side with the New Jersey Education Association and the Camden Education Association, and bridging gaps between not only the students and the educators. We built community schools in our city that help address a lot of these systemic things that we're going through right now. Today, Black History Month, there is nothing going on. The last day of Black History Month, you mean to tell me that you guys don't even make mention of it, but we sit here and watch students parade around in here. How do you think these students feel? We have to fix this, folks. We have to. And it's a hardball conversation that all of us have to have. Oh, no, we're not going to rely on the superintendent. Superintendent, we need you to give a report. We need you to come up with this. We need you to come up with that. What are you doing? What are you doing? What active role will you play, right? And then I have one more question that I have for you guys. I wrote this down because it was important.
That is 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir. That was 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Lee Troutman, East Madison Avenue. Much of what you said tonight is very interesting, very much what you have to do. Very much right now based on what happened a couple weeks ago. What happened a couple weeks ago couldn't have just taken place over a matter of 1 week or 2 weeks since your last January board meeting. What's been going on within the district that you weren't aware, I guess, that there were problems with the relationships that are taking place in our schools? Who dropped the ball? Did the CEO drop the ball? Did the director of the board drop the ball? Did your staff drop the ball? Did your administrators drop the ball? I don't know. My kids went through this school system. Faculty, administration always did a great job. Not always perfect. And based on what we've heard, the union says right now they're not perfect either. I know you're not perfect, but I certainly cannot understand how you let this get to this point.
Hello, my name is Maggie Zhimievsky. I have 3 kids at Tatum School, president of the PTA. I have to say, I'm so appalled that the lack of parent engagement in our schools. I have been in our PTA for 4 years, and I really think that although this has something to do with all of our issues, with every negative aspect in our culture in general, where are the parents? No one's helping. No one's doing anything. I have been begging at Tatum School for a diversity liaison, a diversity community, somebody to kind of bring tips, something to help us in our community, and not one parent. We have 254 students at our school, and never have I had one parent since last May volunteer for this position. There's no way that just our teachers can do it. There's no way that this board can do it. Our parents have to be there. They have to participate in our children's education. They have to make time. Everybody is busy. Everybody has a full-time job. Everybody has multiple kids, multiple things to do. If there's no parent engagement, there's no way that this community can solve any of our issues on any level. So let's place the blame across the board. Let's not pick and choose who we're going to blame.
My name is Danny Moss Velasco, 1106 Park Avenue. I have 3 children in Collingswood who cumulatively have been in the school system for 7 years. 2 of them are currently in the high school. Ma'am, with all due respect, I don't know where she went. I have been begging and pleading at the front door of the high school to be even let in to engage. I practically have to be fingerprinted to get in the front door of the high school to meet with a teacher. When there is meetings granted, there has to be a third person present because, God forbid, there's not a witness for some unknown negative exchange that's not, planned for. I didn't speak up at the town hall meeting 2 weeks ago because when I saw the audience that was there, I saw so many faces and so many voices that are not heard on a weekly basis at the high school. And I really wanted everybody's voice to be heard. I left cautiously optimistic after promises were made by the superintendent and by other administrators in the room that a response would be forthcoming. It's been 2 weeks, there has been no response forthcoming. The only response that I have been witness to, and I'm happy to be corrected if I'm in error, is an already existing affirmative action link that people were guided to data dump their complaints. I come here after a year, a full year, dating back to February 2022, when I brought to Mr. Ostroff's attention and Ms. Hart's attention how and when, specifically with details, drug deals were taking place in the high school. We're talking about 14-year-old children consuming, dealing, and passing drugs in class, in the hallways, and in the bathrooms. After several emails inquiring as to the steps taken by schools. June 2022, several months later, I was invited to participate in a parent-student school administration task force. It ended with that email. The task force was never created. Not one communication was sent out. Not one meeting was scheduled. Not one statement, public statement of intent, public statement of creation of that task force was ever put out. Since the start of the current school year, almost 30 suspensions have taken place for possession and use of drugs on campus, just at the high school. 26 to be exact as of last month. Our high school administration is apparently proud of that number. That was said to my face. That's a low to average number. Somehow we're proud of 26 suspensions, drug-related suspensions, taking place in 4 to 5 months of school. We're talking about 4 to 5 students per month being suspended for drug use or drug possession at the high school, as young as 14 years old. In December, right before the holiday break, I again provided the high school administration with pictures, first names, last names, screenshots, and dates of when drug deals had taken place on the high school campus. I am still waiting for a response. Pictures, screenshots, dates, and last names were all given. The response that I was given at the moment was that there was a privacy issue there and that they would look into it. And because the privacy of another student was apparently more important than the safety of all of the other hundreds of students in the building, I was not allowed to know firsthand what solution or what steps were being taken for that situation. After the community forum 2 weeks ago, I witnessed so many more issues being brought to the surface. Abuse, racism, unfair treatment. Parents and students, again, ma'am, with all due respect, we are begging. This is parent engagement. We are begging for you to do what you were elected to do. I am engaged in the high school on a weekly basis, some weeks on a daily basis, talking to my kids' teachers. Okay?
Thank you.
When COVID struck, we took some
Ma'am,
very...
I need to ask you to stop. That was 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We can take steps without having to wait until the next school year. We've done it before.
Hi, my name is Andrea Hooks. I am a former staff member here at Collingswood High School, and I am also still actively engaged in Girls Guide to Greatness, which is the 3G girls group. And I have a big mouth, so I don't need this. I come from a community where they say it takes a village, and while everybody has great points and everybody's passionate about what's happening here, and I agree, it's not just on the superintendent, but I have to be honest because I'm here representing my kids, and I'm here representing my colleagues that I work with every day.
Hi, I'm Mary Ann Degenhart, and I live at Stokes Avenue in Collingswood. And I just want to shout out to Andrea, because I think I told the Equity Committee probably 3 years ago that she was Collingswood's best asset for racial equity. And unfortunately, we lost her because of a budgeting issue. And I think we can see the result of that loss. So anyway, as some of you know, we have a group in Collingswood called Embracing Race, the Conversation. And we've been having conversations on race for over 4 years now. And everyone is welcome. And I guess what we've learned is if you've been to 1 or 2 meetings and you have an epiphany or something happens, like what's been happening at our school, you suddenly say, wow, there's really a problem here. And then the lights go on. But if you don't stay engaged in the conversation, if you don't stay involved and continue to disrupt your cocoon, and I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm just saying, we live in a white world, and we live in our comfort zone. And if you don't step out of that intentionally, really intentionally, nothing's going to change, and we'll be back here forever. So excuse my back. So again, I will invite everyone. Our next meeting is March 9th. If you want to see me, I'll get you on our email list. You can visit our website, and we're always sending out resources. There's a group that we post on our calendar, NJ Heart, and it's New Jersey Helping Educate Anti-Racist Teachers. So 45-minute mini workshops, anybody can attend. Lots of resources on there. So I invite you to please come on board. So, thank you.
Hi, Wayne Rossi, 114 East Palmer Ave. My daughter attends Newby, and the day after the town hall, I had asked her what they were doing in her school for Black History Month, and she said basically nothing. I wrote to our school administrator. I was assured that there were a few things going on, and a couple days after that, it seemed like all the elementary schools sort of had like some kind of, I guess, assembly that had some Black History Month content. But I really think that was a big slip, and I think it's something, it's been said a little bit earlier, this is an important part of history, and Black History Month isn't the only time we should be teaching it, but like it should be visible enough that my daughter, who's not like an unperceptive person, thinks that there's nothing. I mean, there are like books and there are like little mini lesson things, I guess, that get worked in. But there was talk earlier about developing like a curriculum and really making sure that it's part of representation in the curriculum. And I know that New Jersey has a law for the Amistad curriculum, and it hasn't been clear, I can't think of when it's been clear in the district how that is being implemented and what about our curriculum is actually taking that Amistad curriculum into account. There's nothing on the Board of Education website right now that I can say this is what is in the curriculum for that. So I think that that's something that needs to be transparent, and this needs to be an emphasis. And I think more than an assembly or two. I think I think Collingswood, I think there is a necessity as I want to raise my daughter as anti-racist, and I think a lot of people in this town do, to make a knowledge of our country's racial past, something that is taken really seriously and educated in our school system. So I hope we get more answers and more transparency, and I think that really is going to be an important part of any, you guys are talking about like rebuilding trust. You know, I think parents need to see that. For me, I need to see that. So I hope we can see that as this process goes forward. So thank you.
Hi, everybody. I spoke at the town hall meeting. I'm a student at Collingswood High School. My name's Tatum. And I just wanted to bring up the fact of, as a student, we brought up many factors of stuff that has been going on in Collingswood High School to the board and to everybody. And everything takes time, and we're understanding of that. We're not expecting things to happen in the snap of a finger. But not once has there been a conversation between staff and students about what's going on in the school. I've talked to many staff members. They don't even know about what's going on in the school. We have all of these things that are supposed to be changing. And yes, everything's going to take time, but there needs to be a little bit of stuff shown within the past 2 weeks. There should have been something, having our principal get up and talk to us and understand of, okay, things are going to change. We got these new agenda books with the conduct rules, and there should have been a sit-down meeting that went through and explained what the conduct rules were, because throughout this year they've been abused. They haven't been used right. There's been too many suspensions in the ways of they're not even suspending people for the right things, and it's just like there's been absolutely nothing done. And like I said, not everything is going to change, but something needs to start changing. We have 3 months left of school. I'm a senior. I'm leaving, and I want to see something done before I leave this school.
Hello. Hello, my name is Joshua Pritchett. I am a 10th grader that attends Collingswood High School. I would like to start off with Black History Month started, and nothing was posted on the walls. You know, it was not celebrated as you would think it would be, and not as big in this school. But when every other season come around with different holidays, we decorating the halls, we're doing stuff in class that involve that type of holiday. And I'm only in 10th grade. I shouldn't be in history class telling my teacher about Black history, and he's going, oh, I never knew that. I never knew that. Black history in this school is not talked about. We only have one teacher doing anything for Black history in this school, and it's Miss Tatum. She put up all the posters you'll see walking through the halls now. You only see a couple because only one person. Y'all talking about changes and stuff like that. We don't know about them because y'all not involving us. You have to involve the students because we are the voices. We go to school every day when y'all sit up in chairs and make decisions. We going through mentally abuse or stuff like that inside your school. And for y'all not to include us in like the changes you had, I don't think is right. And y'all putting everything on Mr. McDowell, putting everything on Mr. McDowell when only an individual isn't stronger than a community. If you don't involve yourself and ask yourself, what can we do to make our school district and our town feel more diverse and more safer for colored people or different people alike to come and stay with us, y'all should involve us as a community because our voices is way more powerful as a community than individuals.
My name is Kevin. I spoke at the town hall 2 weeks ago. I wanted to continue what he said about Black History Month. The only thing we had for Black History Month was a segment on Pulse TV. We were given a script. We read it each morning, people who were selected or wanted to do it. I want to thank Dr. McDowell for speaking with students, you know, in meaningful dialogue and things, you know. We brought things to the table. He's willing to understand us. He's willing to get the resources. But I want to know what you, and everybody who's sitting right here are going to do moving forward, okay? We need more communication. Communication in the school is not so good. we need people to understand where we come from. I need to see people of color so that they understand where a certain situation happened, where I'm coming from, you know? It's not all staff, you know, I give props to some teachers because they truly care about the kids, but there's some people out here that are not here to do the right job. They're just doing anything. But we just need more inclusion. We need more understanding. We need you guys to do something, like starting today, after this. I want to be reached out and be like, hey, Kevin, what's going on? You know, any new ideas you guys have? Anything you want to bring to the table? We need to see people of color. The wonderful ladies that are sitting right there, it's like you only have 6 African American people in the high school. Where is everybody else? I said this 2 weeks ago. Who's going in the wellness center? Are there people of color in there? I'm pretty sure you know that, right? Right? So, after the town hall, our principal, like Dr. McDowell did, he came to us and said, we're going to have a meeting tomorrow at 9:30 in the conference room. But you think Dr. Ostroff or anybody has pulled us aside and said, are you guys willing to meet? You know, let's talk about some things? No. I feel so uncomfortable in here. I walk by administrators, and you know what they do? They turn the opposite way. Now that makes me feel very uncomfortable. I should want my administrators to interact with me no matter what the situation is. Dr. McDowell, you know, there's some things on my part that I can say. I truly am thankful for you for listening to us and willing to get the resources for us. But just imagine if you were of color and you send your child to school and they didn't feel safe. What would you do? How about that? What would you do? Do you want to send your kid to a school that's disorganized? You know? Everybody's not included. Everybody feels separate. Like, I love Miss Robinson. I truly love her. That's like my school mom because she's always there. Y'all talk about building relationships, but I have a relationship with her that was trying to be broken. So, what are you guys going to do? I want the board members to step up. Please step up and do something. I want you guys to get involved in our school. I want you guys to understand where we're coming from, because we're not just standing up here for no reason. We're standing here for a reason, and we need something to be done starting now.
Hi, I'm Jordan Kirby. I'm a junior at Collingswood, and like at the town hall, I wasn't going to speak, but now I feel like I have to say something. So basically what I want to see, you know, more diversity. We only have a handful of African American faculty, and it's like, where are the rest of them at? You know, like I said, I had a relationship with Miss Hooks, I still do, but she's not here. That's who I went to during my free time. If I had an issue, she would be the first person to know. And just like Kevin had said, I had a relationship with Miss Robinson. I still do. But it was trying to be broken because of what? Because I trust her. And, you know, ever since, like, when I was in Woodland, I always dreamed of coming to Collingswood. Like, this is the school I wanted to be at, because all my friends would be there. I thought it was going to be like this big school where everybody was going to get along, and that's not the case. And it's like, well, should I have wasted my time thinking that this school was going to be so great? You know, I could have went somewhere else. And thank you. I want to say thank you to Dr. McDowell for having that meeting that we had where you met with the students about the affirmative action. But my question actually my mom brought it up, but my question was, after the students, you know, do the report, they hand in the paper to whoever it needs to be handed to, how long will it take before the students get an answer? After the investigation is completed, after whatever needs to be done, how long will it take for the student, you know, to get an answer? And another thing, just like the guy who said his daughter was sexually harassed by a teacher during homecoming, that was in November, it's been 4 months. It's February, almost March, and nothing has been done. When I'm pretty sure they said that they went to the school to have a meeting with the principal or whoever needed to be, the meeting was had with, and nothing has been done. And for the student to say that the teacher still works here and she has to see him every day and she feels uncomfortable, well, what are you doing to make that student feel comfortable? If you know a student was sexually harassed at this school by a teacher who works here and is getting paid, why have you not done anything? Sexual harassment, that's a serious thing. She is a minor who was sexually harassed by an adult and nothing has been done and she has to still feel uncomfortable. I don't think that's fair to her. And I try not to have issues with people. You know, I'm loud, I'm talkative, but in school I'm quiet. You know, I only have a handful of friends who I'm close to. I don't speak up about stuff because I don't have anything done to me because I'm a quiet student. But for the students who speak out, there's always an issue. I feel like you guys want to like silence their voices, but now everybody has a problem with it. Now you want to, oh, we're going to have a meeting with them. We want to hear them. Well, the students should have been heard a long time ago. Now everything is being done. But thank you for, you know, allowing us to finally speak up, but it should have been done a long time ago. You know, that should have been done a long time ago need to happen now. You know, you have a chance, and, you know, so do what you guys are here to do. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine Jones. I am the NAACP president for the state of New Jersey Youth and College Division. I'm here because I saw all these things going on social media, in the media, and I was outraged. I live in New Camden, New Jersey. I work in Philly. So I'm literally 10 minutes away from here. I found out about this meeting yesterday and I felt a sense of urgency. I wasn't even going to speak today. I kind of wanted to talk to more members of the community and really get a better understanding of the specific issues that students are facing right now. But it's clear that students are here. They're using their voices. I'm so proud of you guys for standing up, for standing your ground. And the impact that it's having on New Jersey, on youth, especially in South Jersey, is very apparent. So kudos to you guys. I'm so proud of you. I wish I was at the protest. I swear I would have been out there if I knew. But moving forward, I'm a part of this fight. I'm going to fight with you guys. NAACP is going to fight with you guys. And we're going to demand some changes to be made because it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable that students feel unsafe, that they don't feel heard, they don't feel appreciated. And it's unacceptable for the school board not to be initiating meetings, initiating the conversations with students, because at the end of the day, you guys are the adults and you guys are in these elected positions for a reason. So you guys have to do your own due diligence to meet them halfway. It can't just be all on the parents and on the students. It has to be a meet in the middle. Moving forward, I think accountability lies in actual equitable investigations and holding students accountable for their racist remarks and making sure that there is a due diligence, a timeline, a deadline of saying, okay, there's a complaint been made, we're going to investigate it in this time frame and we'll get back to you then, and then we'll do a follow-up. You guys mentioned follow-ups, so I definitely want to get some more discourse into exactly what's going on in terms of complaints and things like that, but I do see everyone's here. Everyone seems to have the same mission and the goals in mind. Obviously, there's going to be bad apples at every single school. There's going to be bad students that are going to wreak havoc and put a lot of pressure and attention on you guys, but it's in your best interest, it's in students' best interest, it's in faculty best interest to promote transparency, to promote accountability, and to lead those conversations as well as follow up and make sure that whatever conclusions that you guys come to in doing these investigations and doing these research, having all of these third parties come in in and give their insight, making sure that it's actually having an effect on students and students are seeing changes and that they're actually talking about that, and you're having these conversations with them and they're following up and they're not just waiting for students to graduate and things of that nature. So I know I've personally been a part of that fight as a student. I just graduated college, so I feel a lot of where you guys are coming from, and again, I'm really proud of you guys. I can't wait to attend the next meeting. I hope that there's a lot of change, and I hope to see a lot of these same faces again, and I hope that we can actually see these changes moving forward. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Samantha Kirby. Thank you so much for listening to these students. I wanted to go beyond the talk. One thing, I am also the president of the Board of Education in Woodland. One thing that I pose to the superintendent there every year is, how are you going to diversify this staff? What are you doing personally to reach out? I'm tired of hearing, oh, we posted here or we posted there. Are you attending HBCUs, luring these students back to these schools to teach? When I was becoming a teacher, I was the only black one in the class because all my friends had dropped out. But I stood because of these kids' future, to teach them and to give back. But this is my challenge to you, Dr. McDowell. You need to do more than post. You need to visit colleges. You need to get a committee to go to colleges for to diversify this staff, to lure those best teachers back. I'm also an educator. So please do that. Don't just talk. Don't wait for these students to graduate. Hopefully the wave will continue, that students will speak up. And as the president of the board, I've made changes in the school. I didn't come on just to sit there to say, hey, I'm on the board. We now have 3 preschools full-time. When I got on, I was appalled. You have preschool for 2 hours a day for students, Asian students, Hispanic students who sit home all day speaking their home language, and there's nothing done. They need to be in school full-time, immersed in English. So when it comes to testing, they can pass that test. They begged my daughter to take the test because she out-tested the district and the state. Once she took that PARCC test the first time, I said, we're done, because she's intelligent. But if we don't have teachers who care, regardless of their color, like the other lady said, just to have a job, and I know teachers like that, who said to me, this is just my job to collect a paycheck. And I looked at that teacher, I was like, oh my God. I made sure I did not send my students, put my students in her class, because it was just a job to her. So please, I implore you as a board, this is not just to sit here, oh, I'm an elected official. You have to do something. You have to look at the school and the problems. And it's not all on Dr. McDowell, it's on you too. Because as board president, when we evaluate that superintendent, he has goals, she has goals. That's what they're evaluating the superintendent on. You can't just make him come into school. He shouldn't be the only person representing to make sure teachers are doing what they're supposed to do. They need to have it within themselves. Thank you, CEA. Please employ your people to make the changes. Because without these students and these families, we wouldn't have jobs. We would not. So thank you very much. Have a good evening, and make sure you put your nose to the grindstone and do what you need to do. Because as a board member, I had to stop them celebrating Columbus Day. I said, no, you won't. You're in a minority community, and you will not uphold that man, no more. October, they were in school. These are the changes I've made as a board member. They celebrate 3 Kings Day for their Hispanic students. You can't have a school full of the majority representing minority when they don't get it, because they don't read. YouTube, you can get on YouTube. The information is out there. Don't say, oh, I don't know, because I don't know either sometimes. The little ones teach me. I'm like, what? But I listen and I understand as an educator, as a mother, as a member of the community. I teach in Camden, by the way. So make sure you go to HBCUs. Make sure you go to the Trenton States. Make sure you go everywhere where they're and get those minority teachers and lure them back here. Because I'm not even from here, but I ended up here for some reason. So thank you. My 5 minutes is up.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Fabian Brown, and I live in Collingswood, New Jersey. I've lived here since 1999. My wife's lived here since 1997. By the year 2032, we will have had 10 children go through the Collingswood school system. We have 10 kids. I wrote some notes down so I don't lose track, but that's my introduction. My thank yous to the superintendent and the Board of Education for creating a forum to actually have this type of conversation. My thank yous to the students who found their voice, the parents who found their voice, activists who found their voice and supported us, not the PTA, the school. Thank you for preparing a very well put together speech in response to everything that's going on. Thank you to my daughter who wrote a social media post about her experience that caused this tidal wave of awareness. My 15-year-old girl who hates coming to school, who we had to take out of school last year and put her in outpatient crisis because of what's been going on here in the school. She's a baby. She's not a troublemaker. She just hates coming to school, and it kills me. I'm a former educator, so I have some experience as an educator. I was against the Board of Education being on what do you call it, Pepe? What do you call it when you're doing negotiations? Yeah, I was that guy defending the teachers union, so I get it. The truth is, Collingswood is a diverse community by the demographics, but not by the curriculum or the education. The awareness has been brought upon us, but now we need to do things accurately to advance what the students want, which is a voice and to be heard. It's a shame. Who's the teacher that taught in the school? Was it you? Man, you guys lost a good one. The word leadership versus complacency comes up. Leadership is not just Dr. McDowell. However, I champion and thank you for your leadership. The Board of Ed, I thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your leadership. Teachers, thank you for your leadership. Parents, thank you for your leadership. But there are a lot of complacent people in our school system, from administrators to teachers, maybe even some people behind me on the Board of Education. Complacency is not acceptable. Not today. That's not how things move forward. So please ask yourself, are you being complacent? Or are you a leader taking charge? Because leadership starts with us, not the guy that's appointed, called a superintendent or the president of the Board of Education. We're all leaders. We have that opportunity and that right. But it's up to you whether to use your leadership or be complacent. Someone said takes a village. That was good. I think that was you. It does take a village. So what happens here tonight, the conversation should be perpetual, should be ongoing. But it will take a village. Tonight mentioned was want, need, desire, and need of buy-in from the teachers. That's going to be the hard thing because they're stressed out, they're overextended, they're focused on their curriculum needs, and they're doing enough not to get fired, and you're paying them enough not to quit. That's the truth. It will take time, energy, and resources. Thank God for grants. Thank God for free resources. Whoever's job it is to figure all that out, let's figure that out. Time is a real commitment, though. I think we all should ask ourselves why and how. Why are we here? How do we get here? How do we stop from being in this position and move forward? If we start asking ourselves better questions, we'll get better results. So challenge your thinking, become divergent, and ask better questions of yourselves. You're the leaders, you're the elected appointed officials, right? We're looking towards you for leadership and guidance. That's your responsibility. Please take that seriously for my child and for every child that's in this room and for all the kids that go here. Juneteenth is your second opportunity. I hope and pray that we all know what Juneteenth is. Because if you don't know what Juneteenth is, that's another very sad, sad moment. I'm not going to ask who doesn't know what that means, but if you don't, please Google that when you go home tonight. And the last thing is action steps and clear communication. What I heard tonight, what's missing is like a sense of urgency. 5 minutes? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sense of urgency.
Yeah, sorry, sir. I don't, can we, no, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Thank you. So it doesn't look like anyone else is coming. I wanted to take just a few minutes to first thank everyone who called us out on some stuff. I think, as I did say earlier, that we have to be willing to admit that we make mistakes and we're not always going to get it right. And if we can be humble enough to admit that, we can keep working on it. So I think, you know, I'm embarrassed that we didn't talk about Black History Month or have any, you know, we had this great preview for the musical, but we didn't, you know, and we had, you know, some plans that we wanted to talk about and ways to address the racism in schools, but what we didn't do is have any Black joy represented, and we should have, and I apologize for that. Everyone who pointed out that we can't make policies in a vacuum is absolutely correct. And, you know, I think as a result of, I wish our sense of urgency had come across more, because we certainly feel it, but if it didn't come across, then that's on us to make sure that we do what we can to make that clear from now on. But I think in part of that sense of urgency, we missed a step, for sure, that we did not communicate clearly to all of you, that as we look at policies, we cannot make those decisions just from the group of us. We always generally are making sure that we're involving teachers or administrators, but the key component that is there that was a 100% accurate point was that student voice needs to be in a lot of these policies, particularly students of color, if we are looking at these policies from an anti-racist lens. So thank you for calling us on that. We hear you, and we will do better. Just knowing that we still have a lot more to get through, I am going to leave it there, tell you thank you. Keep showing up. A way to communicate with us will be on the website. Keep sending us suggestions. Keep checking us on things that you don't feel that we are doing well, and we commit to you to keep trying. With that, we are going to move to Section 8, which is the Superintendent's Report.
Section 8.01 is the enrollment report. January of 2022, enrollment was 2,285 students. As of January 2023, that number is still 2,285 students, with the enrollment totals and the 5-year projections attached. 8.02 is the school safety drill report. 8.03 is the suspension report. 0.04 is the anti-bullying report. And we have a few announcements that I would like to make based on some of the things that we've heard this evening. First and foremost, would like to give a shout out to Coach O'Neill and the students that she has been working with in order to conduct a pretty important student fundraiser. As many of you in this room and on this call are aware, is that we do have a young lady who is a senior who is currently battling bone cancer. She's currently scheduled to have surgery on March 10th. Wednesday, March 1st, Collingswood High School will be hosting a special fundraising day to continue supporting her recovery. Students and staff have been able to purchase special wristbands in the cafeteria during lunch for $1. And on March 1st, the students with the wristbands will be able to spend the day writing with their non-dominant hand in honor of her determination and resilience, and all profits will go directly to the family. Also on March 1st, during 8th period, the high school will be hosting a medic 8-on-8 tournament in the gym. Students involved in the planning had been spreading the word, and so I wanted to use this platform as an opportunity to bring additional awareness because every dollar helps. The students will be making their own teams of 8 and will have the option of paying $50 or asking a faculty member to sponsor a team. I'd like to issue a challenge for all of the adults in the room. I have sponsored a team and would love for all of our student teams to have a sponsor because the funding goes for a good cause for one of our students that is well deserved. All profits will go directly to the family. Students will be receiving sign-up forms from Coach O'Neill in the gym or Ms. Goodall in counseling. And then students will be able to watch the tournament from the bleachers. We do acknowledge this is a quick turnaround, but the family thought that this would be best to host this type of event prior to her surgery. So let's band together as a school family and come out to support one of our own. We'd also like to give kudos and a shout out to Student Council and Mrs. Whalen for the blood drive that took place this week. Our students have consistently shown their commitment to the community, and in these times, especially when we see what's happening across our community, across our region, and across our world, for students to be thinking beyond themselves is something to be commended. So we congratulate Student Council as well as the Student Council advisors. We'd also like to acknowledge that one of our members of our district leadership team, our Assistant Superintendent, Beth Ann Coleman, received the Distinguished Service Award from the New Jersey Association of School Business Officials, which really highlights excellence in business operations and school finance. And so we wanted to bring special attention to that, selfishly because we have one of the best business administrators in the state of New Jersey. And finally, one last announcement that I'm extremely excited about. So about 18 months ago, students and staff came to us with all sincerity and shared that our students, especially at the secondary level, were struggling in the areas of mental health. And so students needed a place to go in order to receive services so that they could be triaged and have the opportunity to go back to class more regulated, and have the opportunity to be able to speak to individuals that could refer them if they needed additional care. And so we did not have a funding source, and so we've continued to search out. This past summer, we identified grant dollars, and as a result, we put forward a pretty aggressive program. We were one of 2 organizations in the state of New Jersey to receive a multi-year $970,000 per year award in order to support student mental health and trauma-informed care in schools. We will have our soft opening beginning on Wednesday, where all students at the high school and eventually the middle school will be introduced to the staff. We're still seeking additional staff, but we're halfway there in terms of staff. Students are being referred to be able to start receiving services, and we will have a full grand opening later this month in March, where we will have the appropriate celebration. But we're extremely excited because this is the culmination of what happens when students and staff really advocate for what the needs of the students are on their campus. And so that will also be happening this week. Special thanks to all of the faculty and staff that participated on the wellness development team as well as the grant application. And a specific shout out to Dr. Karen Principato for leading the grant writing effort and all of the compliance and the reporting to the federal government. That ends my report.
Thank you. Moving on to section 9, which is our student report. Ms. Stacy and Mr. DeMarco.
So we have our normal agenda, and we also have a more complex, in-depth response to kind of what has been going on the past 2 weeks at school. But I just wanted to begin by acknowledging the fact that Aiden and I are both very white. And so we will never truly understand what it is like to be a person of color, let alone a person of color in our school district, and neither will most of the people at this table. And I think that's a really important point to be made before we kind of delve into all of our responses to just the culture and the events that have taken place in school over the past few weeks. So we'll start with our, kind of normal run-of-the-mill report and then get into a more complex response. So on February 17th, the student-led Valentine's Day dance was held with great success. Our two seniors, Ellie Tyler and Maddie Corey, ran the entire dance from start to finish by themselves, so props to them.
And then Collingswood winter sports season is officially over with basketball, wrestling, and swimming coming to a close. Our spring sports season will begin in the next few weeks with girls lacrosse, boys volleyball, track and field, boys tennis, softball, and baseball.
It's also important to acknowledge that the week of February 6th, an organizer who did speak earlier began a week-long protest against the unacceptable race relations at Collingswood on Collings Ave across from the high school. So that entailed like a student walkout, and they joined him from Tuesday through Friday, which sparked a town hall that was also previously mentioned. And we just felt that it was necessary to include that in the report as it deeply affected all of the students in the building, and we are going to elaborate that in a few moments. Pause TV, which is our morning school announcements, has been airing Black History Month segments throughout February involving members of our community to spotlight specific areas of Black culture to honor Black history. Teachers, staff, and students have all been featured in these educational segments. And also, as previously mentioned by the superintendent, Student Council held their annual blood drive on the 24th of this month and had lots of success. Teachers, administrators, and students all donated to the Red Cross on that day. And I also want to reiterate the Dodging for Michaela event. It's on Wednesday. The fundraiser is for the bands. They're each $1. And then, as Dr. McDowell said, any adult can sponsor a team that will compete on Wednesday afternoon. Michaela actually happens to be one of my best friends. We grew up together, and so it's really important to me to obviously advocate for her, and like any amount of support would really benefit her family. So that is the end of our formal report.
And we would also like to thank Ms. Taylor, the supervising counselor, for everything she has done for the students in the high school as she prepares to leave at the beginning of March. Ms. Taylor has always been there for students, whether it's assisting with changes to their schedule, preparing them for the next school year, or other needs. I have been able to get to know Ms. Taylor throughout my 4 years here, especially this year as a counseling office worker. Ms. Taylor is such an important part of the counseling office, and she is going to be greatly missed.
We would also like to bring up the importance of sharing the positive things our school has to offer, from having teachers and staff that care about students in the building, small community, having a close bond, sports events, school spirit events. Our school has great things to offer students. No school is going to be perfect, and there are always going to be challenges we face, but that should not prevent us from tackling those challenges and to continue to make our school the best it can be. The voices of all students deserve to be heard, specifically students of color, and what is clear is this. Students deserve to have a district administration that is organized, that works to create a connection with staff members and students, and that they're there for the school district even when it is not convenient to do so.
And before I continue, I just want to say that there's a lot of issues within our school, but we also have many great teachers in the high school, and I am proud to have been taught by some of the smartest and most caring individuals that I've ever met. And I also just want to bring up how many more task force, how many more policy implements, how many more investigations and researching will it take to recognize that this is a leadership issue? Because the talk's great, but there's no action. The higher administration, from beyond the high school itself and including the superintendent's office, has failed to do just that and has continued to show over the past few weeks following recent events. The superintendent specifically has continued to express that we must leave issues to be resolved by the school administrations, not him, yet he gets involved with these issues when it is convenient for him, when there is press, when there are voices that demand to be heard, that put pressure on his role as superintendent. Why was district administration present at the student walkouts just to leave and fail to have any productive conversations with staff members in the high school building that have been struggling heavily since the walkouts? Teachers who continue to feel a lack of support from the superintendent. Teachers that are actively looking for new jobs outside the district. Teachers that are questioning whether or not they will be coming back next year. In a retrospect article, Dr. McDowell even said, "I feel like we've bent over backwards to accommodate staff. Maybe at times we've been too transparent. Where are the accommodations? Where is the support? Where is the transparency? Why is the board putting their trust and faith into the superintendent's office when the superintendent lacks the ability to fight for our district from the staff to the teachers?" Now we would like to recognize that the superintendent calling our student report that was delivered at the last Board of Education meeting foolish and an adult agenda manifested through children is an irresponsible and an attack on the importance of our student reports and student voice. We are not children, Dr. McDowell, and if the superintendent is viewing high school students as children, we are concerned about how important the student voice really is to him, when all we are to him as the student body is children expressing concerns.
We would also like to make it clear that our student report last month was created, reviewed, and edited by strictly only us, the student representatives. No teachers were involved in the process of writing it or any student report from here on out and forever, nor did any teacher encourage us to do it.
The students, teachers, and school administrators deserve leadership that is going to be there for them every step of the way when they are struggling. We fail to have that leadership, and we are going to continue to bring up the importance of bringing those changes to the superintendent's office until those changes are brought, because the students, teachers, staff, and school administration deserves better. And you know, it's frustrating that I have to sit here and I'm going to have to continue to keep sitting here and saying the same exact things because it's a leadership issue. We are lacking support and we are tired of not seeing those changes.
Moving on to section 10. The Business Administrator Board Secretary Report.
Thank you. Item 10.01 is a listing of your January monthly transfers. 10.02 is your financial statements. 10.03 is your student activity cash report. 10.04 is your January food service financial statement. 10.05 is a listing of the purchase orders that have been issued during the month of February. And in 10.06 is the listing of the warrants to be paid tomorrow morning pending approval this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Moving on to section 11, the Buildings, Grounds, and Finance Committee. Mr. Craig.
The Finance, Buildings, and Grounds Committee reviews all financial statements, purchase orders, and warrants on a monthly basis. The committee also reviews and approves all contracts with outside service providers and oversees all maintenance and capital improvement projects district-wide. Tonight we are seeking approval for the following items. 11.2 to 11.9 is the Board Secretary's report as was just presented. 11.10 is the 23-24 tuition rates. 11.11 is authorization to go out to bid for plumbing supplies for the next year, restock what we have, this annual thing for either custodial or plumbing supplies. 11.12 to 11.18 are the shared services for Oakland and Collingswood, the different agreements for each of the staff and resources that we split between each district. 11.19 to 11.21, approval for vendors to provide translation, bilingual services, and other student-based needs as we are serving our bilingual population. 11.22, approval for the Healthy Kids Summer Program, which will again be at Newby and also at Garfield, so expanding some of our capacity this summer. There also will be a site in Oakland, but that is not on for our approval. And then 11.23, per part of the Board Secretary's report is a request to increase transportation line for going over the 10% threshold. We just need to approve that so that we can go to the county and ask. And 11.24 and 11.25 are both requests for use of the facilities. First is Odyssey of the Mind Showcase on March 3rd, which will be here in the high school. And then second is the Collingswood Travel Soccer youth program, being able to use the practice field on Sundays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. From March through the season in May. So we are seeking approval for items 11.2 to 11.25.
So, so moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, any comments or questions from the board?
I just have one comment on item 11.23. I just wanted to highlight for the public how much transportation costs have skyrocketed. Can you just speak to that, Ms. Coleman?
I'm sure you've all read it all over the state of New Jersey. There's a bus driver shortage, so we're a walking district, so the only transportation that we provide to our students is special education transportation, and the busing companies are just, my transportation budget's probably increased 300% in the last 2.5 years, and it's getting worse. I've been working with my state association. I'm probably going to draft something to go to the governor's office because I don't know why he's not doing anything to help school districts. We have to provide this service, and he's just letting the bus contractors just kill us. So yeah, that's the reason why there is the 10%, because I did hit the 10% transfer limit this month, and probably by June it'll probably be another 100,000. I'll have to move into transportation to cover our costs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments?
I'd like to make a comment about the suspension report and the anti-bullying report, and another request that we can get those reports the week before the board meeting. I think it was hard
Roger,
for.
I think let's get the vote on these, and then we can bring that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
Sorry. Any other comments? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chu?
Yes.
Mr. Craig?
Yes.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mrs. Maya?
Yes.
Mrs. Mikulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Savarino?
Yes.
Mrs. Seltzer?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheridan Celia?
Yes.
Mr. Stotts?
Yes.
Mr. Dilkus? Mrs. Caden?
Yes. Moving on to section 12, the curriculum committee, Mr. Chu.
Alrighty. Give me 1 second here. Okay. The curriculum committee oversees and approves the district curriculum and assessment programs, as well as field trips, home instruction, co-curricular programs, and the school calendar. Give me a second. So on the agenda tonight is item 12.02, elementary school field trips. I believe we have up for approval a few field trips for newbie school. One to go see the musical, Once Upon a Mattress, and then the other one to go see the Museum of the American Revolution in Philadelphia. I do not believe we have any, I don't think we have any middle school specific field trips this time around. And then for the high school field trips, we have multiple high school field trips for the indoor garden percussion competitions, along with a 10th to 12th grade trip to Modern Museum of Art in New York. That seems pretty cool. And then also high school Model UN, and then is this? I'm trying to make sure I'm getting the correct one. Oh, I might be reading. I think I'm reading the old one actually. Yeah.
Mr. Chu, there are 4 middle school field trips.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm reading the old one actually. All right. So if I can do this from memory, we have a lot of band trips I think this time around in orchestra. There's one going to Rowan. There's one going to up to Six Flags, I think, and also a district up there. I don't remember the middle school field trips. Do you have those up?
Yes, there's 4 middle school field trips. One is the middle school choir, grades 7 and 8. They're going to Rowan to attend the annual middle school choral festival. The 6th through 8th grade orchestra will also be at Rowan, analyzing orchestral scores and techniques on a separate day. And then the 6th grade will be going to Urban Air in Sicklerville. And then also the 6th through 8th grade orchestra will also be going to Marlboro Middle School and Six Flags in Jackson.
Awesome. Thank you. And then we have so that was 12.02, 12.03, 12.04, the field trips. Then 12.05 is out of district placement for a student. 12.06 is another out of district placement. And then 12.07 is out of district home instruction placement. And then I believe 12.08 are additional out-of-district home instruction placements. I think that's it. So we're seeking approval for items 12.02 through 12.08.
Motion to approve those items? And a second? Questions or comments from board members? Roll call, please.
Mr. Chu?
Yes.
Mr. Craig?
Yes.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mrs. Maya?
Yes.
Mrs. Mikulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Severino?
Yes.
Mrs. Seltzer?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheridan Celia? Mr. Stotts?
Yes.
Mr.
Except those items marked with a double asterisk where I abstained. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
Those
Mr.
bottom.
Dilkus? And Mrs. Caden?
Yes. Moving on to section 13, the Personnel Committee, Ms. Sheridan Celia.
The Personnel Committee reviews all recommendations for teaching and staff employment, considers co-curricular employment, and considers all professional development opportunities for staff members. We're seeking approval for agenda items 13.02 through 13.24. 13.02 is a rescinded contract. 03 through 13.06 are various employee leaves of absence. 13.07 is a long-term substitute elementary social worker. 13.08 through 13.10 are long-term substitutes and floating teachers. Floating around the buildings, not floating. 13.11 is the listing of psychology interns. 13.12, elementary lunchtime and playground assistants. 13.13 is an employee withholding of increment adjustment. 13.14 through 13.15 are stipends for new curriculum development in the PE realm. 13.16 is for stipends for, for working at the after-school clubs in the district. 13.17 through 13.19 are various athletic stipends. 13.20 is for a yoga instruction that happened earlier in the month, I believe, which is pretty interesting. 13.21 is a dissertation study, approval of irritability, belief in sleep, and sleep hygiene's ability to predict sleep quality in adolescents. 13.22, approval of tuition-free students. 13.23, substitutes and tutors. And last but not least, the travel expense form for the month. And like I said before, we're seeking approval for items 13.02 through 13.24.
Is there a motion to approve those items?
So moved.
And a second. Questions or comments from board members? Roll call, please.
Mr. Chu?
Yes.
Mr. Craig?
Yes.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mrs. Maya?
Yes.
Mrs. Mikulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Severino?
Yes.
Gotcha. Mrs. Seltzer?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheridan Celia?
Yes.
Mr. Stotts?
Yes, except those items marked with a double asterisk where I abstained.
Mr. Dilkus? Mrs. Caden?
Yes. Section 14 is the Culture, Climate, and Policy Committee. Ms. Severino, did you, okay, you weren't going to.
Nothing.
Okay, there are no first or second readings at this time. There will be first readings for next month. Moving on to section 15, miscellaneous. 15.01 are the HIB reports from the following month. And 15.02 is the adoption of the state MOA for the relationship between law enforcement and the school district. Don't we usually? Don't we have to
Yeah,
vote on
it's not on there. It got
but we
cut
do,
off
right?
against, but
Okay.
yeah, I do need a motion.
So is a motion to approve those items.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Do we do questions or comments for this one? No.
I would like to make a comment
So-
on this one.
Questions or comments?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
The point I was making earlier was just, again, to ask that the suspensions and the HIB reports be provided at least the week before so that we can look over them. You know, something I noticed from this past suspension report was some, I think, students in some younger grades being suspended, and so I wanted to ask about that, you know, during the appropriate venue. And then also that I think that there's some suspensions from the HIB reports that weren't documented in the suspension report, or might have been missing there. And again, I wanted to ask more about that in the appropriate venue, but it would have been helpful helpful to see these the week before to be able to ask those questions.
We will, as a matter of protocol, we'll make sure that the reports are uploaded during committees at the latest.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question? This says uniform state memorandum, so I'm assuming that this is something that's uniform?
Yes.
So this is just something that all districts do?
All districts are required to do.
Required to do?
Everybody has to sign.
Understood.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Is this roll call or just a?
Yeah, I'll roll call it, just.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Chu?
Yes.
I mean, I'm on a roll, right? Mr. Craig?
Yes.
Ms. Henry?
Yes.
Mrs. Maya?
Yes.
Mrs. Mikulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Severino?
Yes.
Mrs. Seltzer?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheridan Celia? Yes. Mr. Stotts?
Yes.
Mr. Dilkus? Mrs. Caden?
Yes. We have come to our second opportunity for public participation. The purpose for this section is actually all general comments can be made during the section. The public is reminded that attempts to resolve all concerns and complaints should first go through appropriate staff members and administrators. The intent of public comment is to give the community opportunity to provide feedback to the board. We will be actively listening and taking notes so that we can take all that is being said into consideration. If appropriate, clarifying comments may be made at the end of the public participation section. For more detailed responses to concerns, communication may go out later in the week by the appropriate staff members or administrators, or be discussed by the board during future committee meetings. Members of the public are welcome to speak and expected to do so with the utmost sensitivity for everyone in attendance. In fairness to all who wish to speak, there is a strict 5-minute time limit per person during public comment. Mr. Craig will try to give you a 1-minute warning. Please remember, or please come to the microphone and to state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Lily Badaloni. I live at 229 Manheim in Oakland. I'm here to address the situation of the last-minute decision to change the National Honor Society graduation gowns from gold to blue. This tradition of NHS members wearing gold gowns has gone on for many, many years and has honored the individuals who have shown traits of leadership, scholarship, service, and character. To get into the National Honor Society, you have to meet the certain criteria listed above. The students who do not meet the criteria above, which I already listed, wear blue gowns to graduation. This change results in having everyone wear blue, as in NHS members and people who do not meet that certain criteria. A poll was sent out to the senior class about making this change a few weeks ago. Other than that, nothing has been said or even discussed with parents unless their students had told them. Ever since middle school, I'd always saw the gold gowns and knew there was something special and stood out for a reason. This inspired me to work hard, give back to my community, and maintain my grades to get this achievement. Taking this standard away and working hard to achieve something is such a negative output, especially to high schoolers who are getting ready to go to college, the military, trade school, and etc. Therefore, my friend Kendall Justice and I sent out a poll to the public and members of NHS, and the results showed 393 total voted not in favor of the change. 25 NHS members signed, 39 of their family members signed, and 9 staff or board or teachers signed. Thank you.
Hi, Lee Troutman again. I am not going to rehash everything that took place tonight, but I am very concerned that we had a parent who made a statement, an allegation against a teacher about sexual abuse. I understand school law. I understand state statutes for school law, and I've been in your position before. So I understand the confidentiality of things, but if a parent still hasn't heard about the outcome of an investigation that would have been done by DCPP, the police, yourselves, and the teacher hasn't had resolution to it either, and yet I haven't seen any place anywhere that anybody's been on leave, on paid leave, unpaid leave, or fired. I mean, I have a lot of teenagers live in my neighborhood, so parents talk. I have to wonder what's going on in terms of communication on that point. More specifically, the stigma that's being assigned to that staff member if they are innocent of that particular charge. How are you going to assure the staff that they have your support if after, well, I'm going to say probably homecoming dance was probably Thanksgiving, maybe, so 3 months. I know the wheels of investigation turn slowly, but I gotta believe that your investigation's been done already. If I worked here, and again, knowing some of your staff members still, and having had a lot of my kids' staff members as friends, I would be appalled to know that nobody had my back in the executive division of the school district. And that speaks and goes back to your association, which leads them to lack of confidence in the leadership. You're not building good bridges. You're building creaky, broken, rusting, falling down bridges.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lisa Steinhauer, 1033 Park Avenue. I wanted to come tonight to bring my concern about the recent updates to Policy 5112, the entrance age policy that was adopted in the January school board meeting. Personally, my child has an end of September birthday and is age eligible for kindergarten next year. For a variety of reasons, we do not feel that it is in his best interest to be pushed forward to kindergarten. I do appreciate the addition of the age exception request that provided an avenue to formally request an exception to the grade placement based specifically on age. This is very small writing. But the policy itself actually takes away parent choice to do what's in the best interest of the child and gives the final decision to the school. I'm here tonight to try to understand the reasoning for the board to take such a hard stance on age being the only criteria for grade placement. When I emailed an inquiry to the board at the end of January, I was told other school districts were consulted when deciding this policy. I would like to know which specific school districts were consulted over this entrance age policy, and in general, why was the decision made to update the policy to a strictly base grade placement on age? Thank you.
I'm Daniela Solano Ward, live on West Franklin Ave. I'm speaking to the same issue. My daughter is age eligible for first grade next year. She is a late July birthday. She is bilingual. She didn't start pre-K when she was supposed to because, pandemic. And all the input from her former teacher last year, her teacher this year, is that she is not ready for first grade. They do not prepare pre-K kids to go to first grade. They prepare them for kindergarten. And a policy that would force my daughter to essentially fail in first grade because she's not ready is really hard for me to stomach, and it's very upsetting to a lot of parents with summer babies that this could happen to their kid. And we filled out the exemption form, which by the way does not allow you to upload any PDFs or any documents, so if someone could fix that, that'd be great. I emailed Lisa, but if we can make that easier on parents, that'd be great. It's upsetting, and I don't think it needs to be, because no first grade teacher wants to have a child who's not ready, because that's going to take away from the rest of the kids. That's going to set them up for a tough second grade. It's going to set them up to get held back at times that if they just started in kindergarten, it would be all right. Anyways, thank you for hearing my concerns. Yeah, have a good night. Moral support.
Quickly, Fabian Brown, Collingswood resident since 1999. Thank you for your time and for you listening and paying attention to everyone here tonight. My encouragement, just to kind of close this out before you go into your closed session, and thank you for your, it's a long night, so I appreciate that, but my encouragement is professional development, not just for the staff, but for every single person that sits around this table. You've been elected for a position that requires great diligence, and we all need. I'm an advocate of professional development myself, and I just hope that you find it in yourselves to make the time to either personally get developed on your specific roles and your specific committees, to just propel some awesomeness into our community. Some of you I know are already doing that. Some of you are published. Some of you are doing some amazing things. Another thing I want to encourage is better communication amongst your committee. Whisper down the lane gets back to me that there is a lot of division inside of this community, the Board of Education. I hope that you guys can see the differences, but also make way to come together to make the decisions for the end user, which is actually the students. Put the ego aside and put the best foot forward for our students. The last thing I'll say is communication with the community leaders, mayor and council. It would be great to bring all the stakeholders in our community, from the residents, from the leaders in the town council, Board of Education, teachers, administrators alike, to all get together, because you are all the leadership in a very small population. I think 15,000 people in Collingswood, 2-mile square radius. I've been around the block for quite some time and seen a lot of people come and go. This group has a lot of potential to do amazing things. I just hope you fulfill your potential, but that's going to take work on your end, and hopefully you're up to the challenge to do a little diligence and get the development that you need to make the community like I know it should be. So thanks.
So Gary Frazier, 2431 Denfield Street, Camden. So I think it was made mention tonight, a few things. Amistad was mentioned. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Perhaps homework could be done on that. We have Juneteenth coming up. You guys seem to drop the ball for Black History Month completely. Maybe you need to get educated around what Juneteenth means to us as Black people. You don't understand how much it hurts to come here and know that we're in the last day of Black history. You guys couldn't even make mention of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. That really helped shape and change the whole face of this country around white supremacy and racism. Something we continue to battle as Black people today. And the thing for me is that as I sit and I look at some of the characters and I look at some of your faces, well, it tells a story. Just who you are, what you are, and why so much work has to be done here. It also goes to show how the students are used to also perpetuate certain things that sit on your board. It's obvious. It's obvious. I talked with the superintendent. He didn't seem like he wasn't willing and readily to the task, but it seems like he has an immense amount of pressure on him from everybody here. He's the only Black person standing. That's why I have a problem with it at. And so if you're leaving this job up to solely them, then you guys are not going to accomplish anything. If you don't bring people to the table like myself, people like those that spoke before me, who actually understand this work and actually do this work for real, you're not getting anywhere else. Your town's going to be erupted. I'm being very nice. I'm telling you guys that if you don't know who I am. I'm being very nice coming to these board meetings, allowing the student voices, because I could disrupt your town. It's not hard to do around this racism, and I promise you that. I want to thank you, Superintendent, once again, for doing your due diligence and hearing those children's voices, for doing your due diligence and stepping up and saying, no, we will not kick the can down the street. We will take this by force and meet it at its doorstep and do the necessary changes for our children here in this district. I can't sit here and let you be just everybody saying you have to be accountable. They hired you for this, that, and the third, when all of them are elected. They were elected by people from this community. So they have a responsibility in the due diligence, all of them. Case folks don't know that. And it's a vested interest in a high-quality education for our students. And every student in here, whether they're Black, white, Hispanic, part of the LGBTQIA+ community, it doesn't matter. There's a responsibility here. We got people sit up here all day that are reflective of us. But if we're not getting to the core of why we're even here to begin with, then of course the finger's going to keep getting pointed at him. Here's what I'm going to tell you, because I'm a little bit smarter than some people that they may have sit here and took some of this stuff tonight, right? So I'm telling you this right now. You're 2 weeks of complaining to play around with this thing. If you don't know me as an organizer, I'm telling you what I can do to your city. I'm not making no threats to you. I'm telling you that we are meeting this racism and this white supremacy at its doorstep. The superintendent has a plan in hand. I'm sure if you guys were communicating with him effectively, you would know that. If you were working inside your committees, if your committees were actually working together as opposed to being divided from each other, we wouldn't even be here to begin with now, right? And so here's the thing. Again, I've outstretched myself because people look at me as being this tyrant or something like that. No, I'm about accountability. I'm about righting the wrong. I'm about making this thing work for everybody. Yeah, I came in like a lion, but you see me sitting back calmly as a lamb. Please do not turn me into a lion. Please do not act like what you guys did here tonight is going to go kick down the street. Everybody in this state will know you've done nothing for Black history. So it says a lot about you. The last day of Black history, you said nothing. Did nothing. Didn't even utter Martin Luther King Jr. speech. Nothing. So you guys tell me you don't have an issue and you're going to put it on that superintendent? No, then you're going to meet me. You're going to meet me and a lot more people like me. I can promise you this is not just a job of a superintendent. This is a job of every one of you that are elected here to do the responsibility of these children. So your active role is required immediately. Superintendent, thank you again. I look forward to extending this conversation with you past this to bring the necessary coalition of people into this building to teach these people diversity training, cultural training, sensitivity training. These are things that you lack. It's obvious. It sits on your face. This is why we are appalled in here tonight. Thank you.
Just thank you again for the work that's been started. Thank you. Thank you, Superintendent. Yes, the call is great and heavy upon your shoulders. Even as board members, don't just sit back and just listen and just go home and talk and brush it off. To the student who spoke, once again, there's YouTube. Google stuff. Google how teachers are supported in the school, how they can support one another. Just listen to these students. My cousin used to say, white is in the crayon box also, and I never understood it. Now I do. Don't just call them people of color. White is in that crayon box too. They all stand together. These crayons all stand together. Stand together with these students. Don't just push them off and brush them off because of your cultural privilege. Don't brush them off. They can be in charge of you one day. We already have Barack Obama as a president. They can be in charge of you one day. Just embrace them and listen to them because they're human beings just like you are. Hi, Mr. Dokas. They're human beings just like you are. So just appreciate them and what they bring to the table. They are not trouble. I heard a lot of, oh, what about discipline? Don't look at them as discipline problems. They're not. They want to be loved and respected just as everyone else. Just that I have to do every day when my students walk through that door and give me a hug. And they'll tell me when I'm frustrated, Miss Kirby, you're frustrated, aren't you? Yes, I am, because you're not listening right now. So let's put on our listening ears and let's do our work. You can have social emotional training as well, and you should have in your school, no matter how old the child is. As adults, we need that too. So once again, thank you. I hope this is not pushed under the rug, because I know Mr. Frazier, he was in Camden, and he opened up our eyes. So thanks again. Thank you, Mr. Frazier.
Hello, Board, Superintendent. My name is Carl Boyd. I'm from the city of Camden, but I have nieces and nephews that go to Zane North, Collingswood Middle, and Collingswood High. So what I will tell you is I want to thank everybody for coming to the table. That's the board, that's the superintendent, that's everybody in this audience, that's Gary coming from the city of Camden, everybody that brought something to the table tonight. And what I believe, well, I'm going to quote my nephew. My nephew goes to the high school. His name is Tomas Money Jr., okay? And I'm just reading what he was quoted as saying. Junior class member Tomas Money Jr. said that he believes that the majority of teachers and staff care about the students, and that CHS, Collingswood High School, is generally a good school. But without the campus coming together and reinforcing expectations, he doesn't believe things will improve. In other words, what he is saying is that if we don't take all this information we got tonight, that there's a possibility of reconciliation and problem solving, but if we really don't take into consideration, if we really just kind of take this information and just put it to the side, we will not resolve these issues. The fact that these kids, not even kids, I want to say young advocates, came out over the past couple of weeks and said all the things they said is very troubling to me. But I'm glad that this happened because it shows that these are our leaders for the future. They're going to be our leaders for tomorrow. When we're retired and sitting at home, they're going to lead this country. We really have to listen to what they have to say. We really have to consider everything they're saying, and it has to be an ongoing conversation. It can't be just at a meeting because it got some publicity. I mean, I would love to see things happening in the school, and I don't know what plans you have, but even just having forums in the school, assemblies, where you really listen to not only the students that spoke up, but there are also students that didn't speak up that have a lot on their mind. And I think that those voices and those thoughts need to be heard. Another thing I just want to say is maybe about a month ago, a few weeks ago, there was a young lady that committed suicide because of bullying. And even all of this, all of what we're talking about is school climate. If you don't have good school climate, you don't have a good school. So I'm hopeful with that article coming out and with all of the news coverage around that, that when students are talking about bullying and they say things are happening, that we're really listening. Because what I kind of find is, and it happens at a lot of schools, children or these young adults will come and say that they're being bullied. They say that you say you're going to do something about it, nothing really gets done, and these students feel disempowered. We have to empower our students. We have to make sure they feel safe. We have to make sure we have a great school climate in order for them to learn and to grow. So when these things happen, I'm bringing that up because it has news coverage. I want us to take it seriously. We can no longer say we're going to do something and we don't do it. So hopefully you will take into consideration what the students have said, what the community has said, and you will just take action in an actionable way that brings about change. And like I said, this has to be an ongoing conversation. It can't stop. Thank you.
Since I don't see anyone else standing up, I think we're probably done with public comment. We ready to adjourn? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn this evening?
So moved.
And a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to come out tonight.